Well, it's been far too long, but welcome to this special edition of the Matt the Critic Show. On today's episode, we're finally going to be doing something that I think it's been a long time in the making, hasn't it, mate? We've discussed this for a while.
Yeah, weeks of gradually sort of trying to rewatch every single episode of Inside Number 9, trying to remember everything because there's 9 seasons. It's a lot of episodes.
Yeah, well, as you just said, it's the Inside Number 9 tier list. It's the first tier list that has been done on this podcast, so you've got the pleasure of assisting me today. So I firstly say, welcome back. It's your second appearance. How's it going?
Yeah. The last one was the hot takes one, which was fun.
Yeah.
And afterwards we realised we'd basically rambled on for 2 hours and a half about it all. Probably gonna end up with a similar thing this time. Yeah.
Well, it's a bit more. There's a bit more structure, I think, behind tonight.
Yeah,
so.
for sure. And it's good to finally talk about it because, as you said, we've been sort of on about this for a while and gradually rewatching it. And over the course of the past few weeks, we'll sort of updated each other on where we're at or what we need to watch. And we'll be like on the verge of like discussing what we think of every episode. But we have to like stop ourselves because we've been saving it for this, and now we're finally here. So
yeah, it's been interesting, the discussions every time we sort of do one of our like watch parties, because it's always like you want to say what we're thinking, but it's always like you have to stop yourself because this is probably going to be a very good discussion. This, I reckon. I'm personally really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some hot takes, there's going to be some disagreements, there's going to be some agreements. It's going to be a bit of everything, but I think we should start by saying it's been a bit of a delay in episodes recently because I can now say we're both officially working.
Since
the last. The yes sounded
definitely
like...
didn't help with like rewatching everything because you just got less time to sort of plow through and binge watch. When you're on like a 9 to 5 and working. But the Inside Number 9 is a great show, so rewatching stuff is just fun anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if it took a few weeks to do it all.
Yeah, it's very scattered. I'll say that, watching the last few in particular for me, trying to fill it in. I was watching some before at the cinemas the other day. We'll get into that as well.
I rewatched a couple literally today earlier because I just thought, I might as well refresh my memory. I rewatched Sardines earlier, and what was the other one I watched? The Last Gasp.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's safe to say you'll be getting an extra long episode this month as like a little reward for hanging on in there. I think it's fair to say we're both just shattered after work, so podcast has had a bit of a hiatus. But yeah, it's been an intense one, but I'm really glad we're here more than anything. Before we start, I think let's do a quick review segment of what we watched recently because I haven't really done this for a while. And I'll say quickness may have lost all meaning by the end of this episode. But any recent pieces you want to talk about before we get stuck in?
Yeah, so the most recent film I watched with you, which was Mickey 17.
Yes.
Which I think we've got different opinions on because you enjoyed it a bit more than I did.
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a lot. Do you want me to go first, and then you can?
Yeah. You go first.
I'll take the floor. So yeah, Mickey 17, the new film from Bong Joon-ho. It's worth saying this year I actually only watched Parasite and Memories of a Murder for the first time.
Yeah, I'd seen them before.
And because you've been banging on about these, saying, I've got to watch this. Parasite in particular, everyone was like, how have you not seen this? And honestly, when I watched Parasite, I was actually just wanted to slap myself in the face for how long I've slept on it.
It's so good. It's such a good film.
It's one of the... sorry.
I can just see it becoming just like considered a classic. Like 30 years from now, people will, have Parasite in the same way that they view like The Godfather or something, just as one of those timeless classics that's just absolutely brilliant. It's just so well made. It's so funny and so well written.
I think I may have messaged you and I said I don't think anything new release-wise I watch this year is going to come near the quality of that.
No,
Because that's as
no.
close. That's pretty much perfection served on a
Yeah,
plate. It's that good
yeah,
of a
it's
film.
a genuine masterpiece. I think Memories of Murder is also a complete masterpiece. I personally rank Parasite higher than Memories of Murder. Out of the two, they're both amazing. Um, because like that final shot of Memories of a Murder, oh my god,
It's
it's
really
so
good.
good. It's so good.
It's really good. Yeah, I thoroughly quite enjoyed watching those two films. So I think it's fair to say I think we both went into Mickey 17 with very high expectations.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'd say from my perspective, it was pretty much met. I say, firstly, I think the performances are really excellent across the board. I
yep,
think the cast Bong Joon-ho works with, he knows how to get the best out of his performers. I think
yep,
Robert Pattinson in particular is phenomenal. It's one of his
absolutely.
best ever performances. I kind of hope when it comes to the Oscar season, he's remembered and he's in the conversation because I think there was a very distinct nature he brought to the different Mickeys. He brought a very human and compassionate side. I thought that was really well explored.
Yeah,
Um, I thought as a whole this was quite. It's a very daring science fiction dark comedy esque film. I think
mm,
one of the things I was saying to you was that a lot for me so far this year, a lot of films I've seen have been good, but they've not really stayed with me. This is I would highlight as this is one that's going to stay with me because it's so. I mean, it's based off a novel, Mickey Seven, but it's really original. It's a very daring piece of cinema, I'd argue.
I think the only yeah I said to you the only film this year I've walked out the cinema being like, oh, I'm so glad I actually went to watch that. That was really good. That was brilliant. It was a Companion.
Yeah,
Because yeah, that was such a fun film. I think it played with the genre and the concepts it had really really well. But that's a whole other conversation. Mickey 17. Yeah, because I personally think Mickey 17. I mean, I haven't seen all of Bong Joon-ho's films. I've seen obviously Parasite, Memories of Murder, and Snowpiercer. He's done another one called The Host, I believe.
yeah, that's on my
Not
list.
watched that yet. On the list to watch, and I think he's done a couple others. But so out of those that I have seen, I think Mickey 17 is the weakest one.
Yeah, I'd
uh,
agree on that, but it's like it's not a bad thing. Um,
no, no. I just think, in my opinion, Mickey 17 sort of went a bit off the rails in the
hmm,
second half of the film. I think it lost its direction. I think that Mickey's character arc wasn't as fully flourished and well done as it could have been. Primarily because I think the whole thing with those creepers sort of took over a bit out of nowhere. As well as um, his girlfriend, I forget the character's name, but the black actress, she almost like stepped in and became his voice because there was a scene in it where there were all the prisoners of the mayor, played by Mark Ruffalo, and she was basically just standing up for him, which he'd done at the beginning of the film, and I was hoping that by the end, Mickey'd be, standing up for himself and sort of demonstrating and showing how he values his life. But in that scene towards the end, it was just her. It was her being the voice and doing everything, and yeah, and then his whole thing about valuing his life basically just sort of randomly came after a 20-second conversation with the other Mickey,
hmm,
and just right at the end he went, yeah, I'm gonna focus on being happy now. And it's like, oh, okay, okay.
hmm.
I was expecting a bit more from that. I think the film was better when it was solely focused on Mickey and
Yeah,
his sort of personal story. I think the moment this whole creeper thing and it became like a life or death, oh no, we have to save the colony type plot, it just sort of fell off for me.
hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I think the first half being about Mickey because I think Pattinson's accent is really you can feel he's quite innocent just by hearing his voice. Oddly, I don't know if you
I
agree with
heard
that.
somebody say that they reckon he was inspired by, I don't know if you ever watched it, but like Morty from Rick and Morty, and I can't unhear it now because that character's like, oh jeez, and it's very similar.
Yeah.
I heard Robert Pattinson say he was inspired by like anime, by how like certain characters can go from like one end of just being completely calm to like just fully like enraged and angry, and I could really see that in Mickey 18's portrayal, how he could go from being pretty normal to just fully like
Yeah.
in literally a matter of seconds. Yeah, Robert Pattinson was brilliant. But it's like other stuff as well. Like I remember that there was the other love interest. Like there's like another girl in it, and
Yeah.
that kind of just went nowhere. And she just sort of randomly had a girlfriend at the end.
Mm.
So I was like, oh, all right. Yeah, and then I wasn't the biggest fan of Mark Ruffalo either, to be fair. I think him and his wife, I think
Yeah.
they were too, they'd like hammed it up like way too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's a caricature of Trump, basically, Ruffalo.
Yeah, Bong Joon-ho denies that it was inspired by Trump, but it was clearly what Mark Ruffalo was going
Yeah.
for. Yeah, and I can understand it, but I think it was just way too sort of hammed up. I think he should
Yeah.
have sort of dialed it back a little bit. And then his wife, she was
Toni
just
Collette,
like
yeah.
so weird. She was on about sauce half the time. I don't know what that was about. And he had that whole nightmare at the end. That kind of went nowhere. Yeah, so still a very solid film, but overall, I think by the end, the feeling I had was I was sort of a bit underwhelmed. Maybe high expectations were to do with that, but overall, that was kind of how I felt about it.
I think, yeah, it's a good point on expectations. I think particularly, coming off the heels of watching Parasite and Memories of Murder, like, I think I maybe went in with astronomical expectations.
A lot of people... Sorry, go on.
I think I said this was ready to bring the house down in my top 10 list.
A lot of people don't like Snowpiercer, but I don't understand that, because I
I
actually
love
really liked it.
Snowpiercer.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so dark. Like that whole monologue Chris Evans did about like eating babies was like, jeez. I think he was brilliant in it. And then I don't know if you've seen any of the theories about it being a sequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate
I've never
Factory.
watched the video, but I know of this, yes.
Yeah, it's weirdly enough got a lot of like merit to it. Yeah, it's an interesting theory. I definitely check out the video. It's quite funny, but yeah.
Yeah, I think Bong Joon-ho, he's definitely a very distinctive filmmaker. I would still very much recommend Mickey 17.
Yeah, I'd definitely say it was worth the watch. 100%.
I think if you're looking to watch something a bit different, something that isn't your sequel reboot, I think as we said...
Yeah, like people, they can't complain that there isn't original films coming out, because there are. You just gotta, look for them. I don't know how Mickey 17's doing at the box office. Is it doing well? I don't know.
Not sure. I know it's. I read an article today that said it's coming to streaming very soon, and I'm like, you've got to give it at least a month.
Yeah, definitely, because there's no incentive to go to the cinema if you can just wait 2 weeks and get it as part of your streaming package.
And I would say it's a film worth seeing on the big screen. I thought the sound in the screen we saw it in was really good.
Especially for the aliens. You know, when like they were gonna blow up everyone's brains. That was the sound for that was brilliant. Plus as well, as soon as stuff comes onto streaming services, it's just gonna get pirated instantly. So even if you don't have a streaming service, you can just pirate it. So it hurts the film.
It does hurt the film. And
it hurts the film, and it's a shame.
I think we've had our debates on like to disagree what we agree on and stuff like that. But I would definitely say I think I'd watch out for Mickey 17 in my top 10 of the end of this year. Deservedly so, I'd say. Maybe not going to be as high as I thought. I kind of said, oh, this is probably going to be number one, no question. But yeah, it's probably going to have a bit of competition, I'd say. But so far, definitely my favourite film this year. Should we
Definitely.
get? Should I'll let you have the floor now for Monster?
Yeah, that was the other recent film I saw, which I loved. I loved every damn second of that film. That film was amazing. I think it's one of the most well-written films I've seen in ages. In that third act
Yeah.
was it where it recontextualized the entire early of the film, and I was looking back and I was thinking, oh my God, that line that he said, that thing that he did, it makes so much sense now. How could I not have seen? I think the way that the film was structured, it was just masterfully crafted. It goes from being like a creepy sort of horror
Mm.
almost to then like a psychological thriller with the teacher, and then the third act is like one of the most bittersweet, tear-jerking, wholesome, but also tragic
Mm.
act ever.
Yeah.
It all just comes together so damn well. And it's obviously also just got a very, very powerful message. And the ending.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so for me it was just immediately I knew it was just like a five star, just 10 out of 10. Loved it.
Yeah. I I really like this film as well. I think the storytelling structure is it's like the Rashomon structure where you see it from different perspectives and it all kind of builds to one outcome in the third act that is God, it's devastating just thinking about it because yeah, I remember it
Yeah,
really well. Because obviously at the start, I think you're very much questioning like what is this young boy doing, and it all serves as a really good purpose.
yeah,
It's quite ingenious the way it's constructed. This film.
yeah. Reminded me of those you've seen it. The name slipped my mind. It was a like a horror film. It began as um where it was set in a house and like stuff was going missing from the house, things were
Hmm,
moving around,
yeah.
and there was a creepy guy in like a frog mask.
Okay.
And then in the second half, it became like a crime thriller, done in the sort of same way, where because the film was taken from two different perspectives,
Hmm.
two different characters' point of view. Um, and that was a really good film. A lot of people had complaints about it, which I completely understand, because I think the family was very, very dumb. But that being said, it was a film I really enjoyed.
What film was this? Was it I See You?
Yeah, I think it was Ice.
I
Yeah,
think we
I
watched
see
this.
you.
Yeah, I was a really good film actually. Yeah, good structure to
Yeah,
that as well.
that's all I was gonna bring up. It just reminded me of that film. You
Yeah.
go ahead.
Explain. Because you slagged me off for this film because I gave it a point 0.5 less than you did.
Yeah, I was wondering why you gave it less,
And
because I just
there's kind of a reason behind the screening for this. It's probably one of the most memorable experiences. Probably not for the right reasons, but I went to see this on an advanced screener. It was when I was living in Manchester for my master's degree, and screening was scheduled to start 7:30, but there was a problem with the projection, and it just went off. The screen was just black, and I was like, "Oh God!" And then I was because I really wanted, was quite looking forward to it, and then the guys came round. They gave us free food vouchers, so I used that. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just try and fight. It's Matt the Crick's nature to fight it and state it to the bitter end to know the definitive. So I finally ended
yeah,
up seeing the film, and I was supposed to get back at 11 o'clock. I got that to get the last tram of the night, and I got back at midnight, still having to eat, and then I had to get up at 7 for a lecture.
yeah,
So
not the
yeah,
greatest time.
no, not the best time. Honestly, I
I
came
can
out of the film.
understand.
I was like, God, that was a really good film, but God, I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
But I love the
understand.
film still. Yeah, I've had,
Yeah.
it. Do need to. Should we watch it? I think
Is it-
in a format that I'd actually be able to see it in one hit.
Yeah, because the other film I really enjoyed that you gave a sort of a bit of a lesser rating than me, which I think we spoke about last time, was Godzilla minus one. which you said you were sort of really exhausted and tired and the
That was an
times.
even worse experience than Monster, because I was meant to see it at R5, but because they kept me on at work, I had to see the 8:30 screening because I was so like adamant on going, and obviously it was like packed out because well, good for it, to be honest, because I'm glad a film like Godzilla Minus One was doing really well. And
Yeah.
my seat was taken, and I was like, it's two against one, and I'm not going to ask them to. So I ended up sitting like at the far front, and I'm having to just look up, and I'm like, oh, this is. I thought it was a good film, but not the
Yeah.
right experience at all. I still haven't rewatched it since. I feel like I'd like to try it again for sure. Two films I'd like to try again.
I'd also recommend Shin Godzilla if you're ever in
Yeah,
the Godzilla mood. That was cracking. Um, if you're a fan of Evangelion, you'll also very much like that film. I'd even recommend watching the odd episode of like Evangelion just to see the parallel between Shin Godzilla uh and the show because it's so similar because it's the
yeah,
same director. It's just funny. Um, but yeah, did you want to mention the other film that you
yeah.
had seen?
I'll I'll just start. I was saying ironically. I was just thinking about this. So the Godzilla X Kong that I saw. Um, when did that come out? Was it last year? It might have been last year or the year before. But when I saw that, ironically, that was one of my best experiences of that year. The irony, because I saw that on a bank holiday. I was getting a bit bored in the apartment, so I was like, I'll take myself out. I'll go watch it in IMAX because why the hell not? Because it's made, and
Yeah.
then I probably enjoyed it slightly more.
I mean, it's such like a switch your brain off and just enjoy the.
I wish I saw. Yeah, I wish I saw Godzilla Minus One in IMAX. To be honest, I think.
I never, because I saw Godzilla versus Kong with you. I didn't see
Yeah,
Godzilla X Kong. I did see a lot of clips where he looked like Kratos from God of War, and the little brown monkey looked like Atreus. And then I'm pretty sure he had like a gauntlet or something on, and that got added to like Call of Duty. It was just, it was all over the place, that film. It looked very, it looked very fun, but also like so like ridiculous and stupid at the
it
same
is
time.
really good, especially seeing it on IMAX. That definitely helps. I mean, I can't lie. I think the plot makes very little coherent sense, but I stopped caring. I was just like, I'm in it for the smashing,
Yeah,
bashing.
you just, yeah,
You
exactly.
lose yourself.
Yeah.
Visually, it's really good, but yeah, we'll move on to the two films I did see on Friday. So I went to see Black Bag. This is the new Steven Soderbergh film, second film he's had out this year. He had that Presence film. I think I mentioned that to you. I wasn't a big fan of that, but
Mm,
this is a old school take on a classic on a modern spy story. I'd say it's basically a intelligence agent gets framed for stealing this technical program known as Severus, which is ironic because immediately when I say that, I think of Severance.
yeah, I was gonna say that or like Severus Snape from Harry Potter, which they're doing a TV show of.
Yeah, so Kate Blanchett is the one who gets framed, and but her husband, as a spy, on the suspects list, she's one of the primary suspects, and the whole film is essentially his investigation. Uh, is his wife being loyal to him, or is she betraying the nation almost? So it's quite
Oh,
a classic spy movie.
yeah,
How this felt so underwhelming is questionable to me because I think you've got a really good cast behind this. You've got Fassbender; he's very meticulous in this. I don't know if you ever saw The Killer by David Fincher.
no, I haven't, not yet. It's on the list.
He's playing that type of very it's quite an intrinsic archetype of the spy. He's very well cast, Fassbender. You've
Yeah.
got Naomi Harris, Marissa Bella, who was Amy Winehouse in Back to Black. It's quite a good cast behind it.
Mm,
I just found it very mid. I thought I enjoyed it for what it was, but I
yeah.
came out thinking I'm not going to remember this in like 4 days' time because it was just you're watching a solid story play out, but it was just it was one of those solid, if very unremarkably told stories we've seen before. It was
Yeah,
more of
it's
an
been like that
yeah,
with
yeah,
a lot of films recently. I like superhero films especially because you've just sort of seen it a million times. Like, and then what was that film? Red One, that's it. With The Rock and Chris Evans and that a Christmas sort of action film, which I think people overall said was like a fine movie, but obviously it didn't do very well
Hmm.
at all. Probably for a myriad of reasons to do with cinema right now and streaming and blah blah blah. That's a whole other debate. But also, I just feel like the film would have done so much better 7 years ago when it, when that type of film was just sort of in its prime. It was still new, it was still fresh. Whereas, cheesy films with The Rock,
Yeah,
action films now, it's what I mean, we've seen them a dozen times.
I
Nobody
like
cares
it.
anymore.
I quite like that comparison actually because I do think this would have worked 10 years ago better. It was just felt one of those films that just felt a bit safe to me. It felt like for how good the cast was, I think I was just expecting a lot more. I didn't
Mm,
know I hadn't seen the trailers before I watched this, but I knew the cast and I was like, "Oh come on, let's have a good old spy movie to rave about." And I was like, "Is that it?" And I felt it was a bit long for the 90 minutes. That's not a good sign either. I felt the
no,
time quite a
yeah.
lot. But yes, he's an interesting one because I think he does experiment a lot. He did Unsane, the Claire film shot on the mobile phone, which I know you did not rate at all.
No, I was really bored during that one. I thought it was really boring.
So I think his films are a bit almost like Marmite. Almost, you either love him or you hate him, or you just meh. And I'm just a bit meh on some of his films at the moment. He has done
Mm.
really good stuff with Ocean's 11, but yeah, I feel like we
Oh,
need,
did he do Ocean's 11?
yeah,
I did. I mean, I love Ocean's 11. Ocean's 12 is all right.
questionable.
It's fun in its moments, like the laser scene with the dance music, and then I can't even remember Ocean's 13 for the life of me.
No, I can't remember it either.
I haven't seen the girl remake either. I don't know.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you.
yeah. He did a film with Zoe Kravitz called Kimmy that was actually really good. It was sort of like a COVID drama. That was really good. So because he shot that in COVID and you could tell by the parameters, but that was a really good experiment. So he's tried his experiments, Steven Soderbergh. Whether they all work is another question, but it tries. But
You
it
can't
was
blame
fine.
him for trying.
It was fine. I mean, it's fine. Not sexist reviews. Should we get on to Opus? Oh, this is what I'm really excited.
Yeah, but I haven't seen this. It'll just be you. I've only seen the trailer.
Yeah. So we had a bit. This is essentially sort of a writer played by Ao Debris. I probably butchered that name. Apologies. It's basically just like a writer, this young up and coming journalist who travels to this resort essentially where there's this. She's covering a story on a new pop icons album. This pop icon is John Malkovich of all people, and as she gets there, one of the things I really liked was that the journalist who she was working for, he basically said, if you see anything suspicious, just write it down, and you just see it throughout the film. She's writing all this crazy stuff down. So very much is a case of what's happening at the resort, who is this pop icon, and what the hell is going on. I enjoyed the heck out of this. I found it quite interesting because I sort of was going in thinking, where's this going to differ from films I've seen like it? And maybe it does fall into its own derivative traps, but I have to say, I just went with it, and I really quite enjoyed it.
That's good.
I think
That was like my only concern because I watched the trailer and I was just thinking, oh, okay, this just looks like the Menu, and then a Blink Twice. It just looked like another one of those
it is,
films.
and it is similar to those. I can't lie, but because I quite like those films, I've got a bit of a bias towards them. Like I quite enjoy twisted nature thrillers where you discover there's a big revelation at the end.
I mean, I love the Menu. I really enjoyed Blink Twice. I didn't think it was as good as the Menu, but I still really thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'll have to give that a watch then.
But yeah, this is like it's like those films, but it's the music industry, and it does have sort of a good capitalist edge on sort of looking at critiques of music artists. There's a really good statement when you find out what's going on. And the journalist's first question they ask, I did laugh out loud because I thought that was quite an intuitive question. Yeah, I think it's not going to set the world alight. It doesn't like have a revelation that I think is like game changing, but I really enjoyed it. John Malkovich is incredibly well cast as this creepy pop singer. There is a particular moment
John Malkovich.
Where he's sort of dancing around the journey. So he has like this big dance number that was just I found it really funny, and I found it quite serious when it needs to be as well. The lead actress, the paranoia is really well portrayed through her eyes, and you definitely are waiting for the needle to drop of what's really going on. I found it really quite enjoyable, and I also found it quite a good look at what criticism does to an artist and what it does to their mindset. Very similar themes to what the menu showed, but I've enjoyed the heck out of it. Mainly, I'd say just slightly a little too derivative of those films that we mentioned, but I mean, I'm a sucker for them, so I really enjoyed this.
I mean, if it's a bit of fun, who cares? It sounds like it's something I'd enjoy, so I'll definitely have to add that to the list as well.
Yeah, I think it's not going to maybe win as much accolades as the menu, but I mean, Malkovich is great. You could definitely tell it's an A24 performance.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. So, now that we're covered for that bit, should we move on to the big event?
Yeah.
I'm quite excited for this. Hey! Extra long episode. Do you remember the first time you discovered number 9 whilst I get the tier list up and ready?
Yeah. I think it's because I was just looking for TV shows like Black Mirror, because obviously Black Mirror was great. Where Black Mirror sort of went is a whole other discussion for another time. But I was looking for TV shows like that, and that led me to Inside Number 9. I think it had also been recommended to me by somebody. Couldn't tell you who, because this is years and years and years ago now. But and then I watched the first episode, Sardines, and I continued watching episode after episode, and I was just hooked because each one being different. Some of them were just so well done, and they were funny, dark. A lot of them had a lot of good twists in them. So yeah, it just sort of absolutely sated that kind of thing that I was looking for in that kind of a show.
Yeah, I think you recommended it to me when I was watching Black Mirror. I remember the episode. Yeah, you told me to start with Cold Comfort, which we'll get on. I'm excited for that one. Because I think very much when you were recommending the anthologies, you were saying, watch these episodes first. And then I think it was around about series 6, I did like a deep dive and I watched all the episodes. And I just love the diversity of range that these guys produce, ultimately. I know we might talk about some stinkers today, but I think as a whole, I'd say Number 9 is one of the best things I've ever watched, easily.
Number 9 is absolutely brilliant. It wasn't the first thing I'd seen of theirs. I had watched The League of Gentlemen. I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't seen it, but I do know of it.
In a similar vein, it's very sort of like dark comedy. It's a heck of a lot weirder than Inside Number 9. Oh my god. I think a lot. It's a bit of a turn off for some people, The League of Gentlemen, because of how odd it can be. But I think it's hilarious. So I absolutely love that. So of course I was going to absolutely love Inside Number 9 as well, because you got your dark comedy, you got your odd horror episode, you got the odd episode that's like really sort of serious and emotional.
Yeah.
And then you got your sort of psychological thriller type ones. There's a bit of everything for everyone, really.
And we're definitely going to cover that. So let's get into the tier list. So I definitely recommend, if you are listening to us, switch over to YouTube right now. We've got a tier list in front of us. We've got S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, and F tier. It's going to work based on an average of what we both say. So if one of us says A and one of us says C, we're going to slap it into B, and both of us are going to have to be annoyed at the other person. If one of us says, "Oh, sorry,"
desperately try and convince the other person that it belongs where I say it belongs.
well, that's what I was going to say. If one of us says B tier, one of us says C tier, we'll have a good debate, and someone's going to have to accept a loss.
Yeah.
So very much, we're going to get these episodes onto the tier. We're going to say what we think, and then at the end of all this, we're going to try and rank them all. Good luck to us. So,
yeah.
I'm going to let you kick off as the guest. Do you want to start off with Sardines? Where do you think it belongs on the tier?
Now, when I first watched Sardines, because it was the first episode of the TV show, when I'd first got introduced to it in Son of a Nine, I thought it was boring as hell. Yeah, honestly, like, I watched it and I was like, oh, is that it? And then I continued watching season 1, and I obviously really enjoyed the rest of season 1, and that's why I continued watching it. But if I had decided to stop watching after, just episode 1, it'd have been such a shame. Because the first time I watched it, genuinely, I was bored shitless. I rewatched it earlier today, and I can definitely say I enjoyed it a lot more than I did watching it the first time. But I can't get that out of my head about how bored I was the first time watching it. I don't know about you. What did you sort of feel like the first time you saw it?
I liked it. I think it maybe didn't help that it wasn't the first episode I watched of Inside Number 9. So I partially kind of was like, because I'd watched a few episodes, a lot of the ones you recommended to me. Did like it. I'm quite firm on where I stand for my grade for this. I don't know if you are.
I'll have a look. Okay, yeah.
Do you want me to... I would say I'd probably go for a B tier on this.
I'll put it in C.
Oh, okay. I'd probably say it's B. It does have a lot of fun with itself. It is the first episode. I will give it a bit of leeway. Thought Tim Key was excellent. It does have... It just is so weird thinking of this episode when you think of everything else that's come after it. I'm trying to get that. I thought the camera work was superb. Like the way the
I was
coverage.
wondering how they did that.
It's really impressive.
With everyone fit in that cupboard, how did they actually film in there?
It's really it's really impressive. I think it's got quite a few comedic moments, especially where they have to hide under the bed. It's got quite a good twist, I think.
Joe. Yeah, with the guy from Nativity in it.
It's a really good twist. But I just thought it was a solid episode. Why would you put it in C? I'll hear you out.
I think it was just because of that first time I watched it. It was the first thing I saw of Inside Number 9. I just remembered being very bored the first time I watched it. I literally rewatched it earlier today. I enjoyed it a lot more. And to be fair, sorry, I've got a bit of a cough. Now that I think about it, this episode was the first one that sort of introduced a very much reoccurring trope that they do a lot in this show, which is the sort of twist that it's a big revenge plot. It was the first one of that, which gets done a lot in this show, to be fair. So, to be fair, I think I'd be willing to get it to jump to B based on that.
Yeah,
let's do it. First episode, the pilot, and it was the first one that sort of did that.
Let's do it.
I think I'd put it low B.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. I probably agree on that. I think that's it. I'm going to have to compromise later. I already know it. So let's go to a Quiet Night In. Next one.
You can go.
I love this episode. I thought this was a brilliant use of the silent comedy. I absolutely found it hysterical. It's these two burglars who are just the absolute pinnacle of idiots.
Yeah.
And it's quite a good exercise of restraint because having obviously no dialogue, it's like, how do you keep you entertained for it? But it does it really well. I mean, particularly at the start with them trying to creep around. Like, I remember just the opening of the episode. The lights, I was going to say it, I would say this is a very solid A for me, this episode. Do you want to...
put it in A?
Yes.
I think Yeah, I can see A. I'd even be tempted to put it like low S because, like you say, I just think
Interesting.
it's so hilarious. I think it's probably their best comedic episode.
I could argue. God, do we? Because I would be willing to go up on this. I would definitely go up before. I won't go down, of course. I mean, because I really like this episode.
Yeah, I think if I think about all of their comedic episodes,
Yeah.
I'd put this one as the best comedic episode. So for me, that's why I sort of was
You
tempted to put it in S.
are you a firm A? Would you say? Otherwise,
It's definitely at least an A, but for the reason of it being, in my opinion, the best of all of their comedic episodes, is why I would be willing to give it an S.
screw it. I'm going in S. I love it. I think it's that
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
I,
I think it's
I've
deserved.
I've got no. It's such a good episode. I've rewatched it. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Like even when they just the bit where Pemberton throws the dog at the window. I know
Oh my
that's quite
God,
not a
yeah.
nice bit. It's a
And then
cruelty.
there's Reese with like the sex doll under the bed. He's like having to grab onto its
And the bit
dick.
at the end with the guy who comes round,
The cleaner guy.
this cleaner guy. Yeah, very
Yeah.
good ending. Should we move on to Tom and Jerry now?
Yes.
I'll let you kick this one off.
So I think it was by this point that I'd been fully hooked on the show because at the time of first watching, I wasn't that impressed with Sardines. I obviously really enjoyed A Quiet Night In, but then Tom and Jerry, it was Tom and Jerry that sort of made me like get it. I like sort of understood what the show was trying to do, and I thought it was brilliant, like the twists and turns, and to everything that happened to the main character. I didn't know who was doing what was his motives were. Was he real? Was he not real?
Yeah.
And then there was the twist at the end. So Tom and Jerry for me, yeah, I've honestly I've put very high. I've also put that as sort of ranked first. I have a soft spot for Tom and Jerry. I think it's brilliant.
Well, you'll be pleased to know I also think it's S tier because
Yes.
I think this is one of the first episodes where you go, "Oh my god!" to the twist nature. I think it's a brilliant exploration of male mental health when you realise that it's not about the hopeless person at all. It's about Shearsmith's character, and that
Yeah.
it's all and the ending. Oh my god, with him in the tub, and then it's like
Yeah.
the big question of what and the revelation about the wife and what he's imagining.
I know.
It's such a brilliant
Mind-blowing.
and to remind of Inside Number 9, the nature of being set in one location. It's just a brilliant conversation. The dialogue is expertly written.
Yeah. It
I've
was
got
this episode that got me hooked.
I have no issues whacking that into S.
Easy.
Oh, last gasp.
So this is another one I literally watched
Yeah,
earlier today.
I'll let you go first because
I definitely enjoyed it more on a second watch than
I'd
I
agree
did
on that.
first
I'd
watch.
agree on that.
First time I watched it, I remember being pretty bored. I thought I wasn't that, pardon me, invested in the characters themselves. But on the second time watching it, it's weird because when I say second time watching it, this will be literally like how many years apart? I don't even know because
A
obviously
lot.
this show has been going on for so long. So when I speak about the first time watching it, I might have been like 14 or 15 or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just, probably a bit immature and not really like understanding of it all. So maybe like, because you'll be watching it through a completely different perspective years and years later.
Yeah.
That aside, I definitely enjoyed it more in the second rewatch. I thought the whole sort of commentary on them being like vultures, desperately trying to get at this balloon, for the money, to the point where they literally commit murder. And like all at the expense of his own disabled daughter that the day was for. I'm definitely a bit more appreciative of that. I was a lot more invested the second time watching it. I've put it in C. I have.
Interesting when you say that.
Yeah, So I enjoyed it more, but in the grand scheme of like all the episodes that Inside Number 9 has to offer, like that's why I've put it there. I think there's just better episodes.
I also enjoyed this a lot more on the second viewing. I think the hysteria behind celebrity culture, obviously, it's a celeb's breath in a balloon's really well explored. I remember like one of the best moments was where they're trying to carry the balloon with such meticulous care up the stairs. It's really quite an interesting.
Duvet on it. They like, and that's where she's like cradling it like a baby at one point.
It's really quite an interesting exercise of genre blending. I think something which we'll talk about a lot today. The comedy and it's got real seriousness they go for. They take it so serious, and obviously they've got the dying daughter, but very good performance from her in particular.
Yeah.
What I've dabbled, I would go for a C as well, but I'd probably be on the very low end of C, just because I thought it wrapped up. Yeah. I didn't really like the ending that much, but a very interesting look at celebrity hysteria. I'd happily go. Yeah. I'm happy to go C for this.
Yeah. I don't think it was a bad episode at all. I just think there's better episodes that the show 100%. Has to offer.
That's understudy. Shall I kick this one off? Because this is quite a personal one. Because obviously it's Macbeth, which did you study that for English?
I did Romeo and Juliet for English.
Yeah, I did.
I read Macbeth anyway, so.
But yeah, so I did Macbeth, and I have to say I hated Macbeth, and I have no interest in watching Shakespeare adaptations. I hate it. But honestly, I really quite liked the understudy. I thought it was quite an interesting look at a literal power trip, obviously, because Shearsmith takes over from Pemberton's. Yeah. It's the understudy coming to power. And ironically, I think it really intertwines the themes of power between what Macbeth goes through and what Shearsmith's character's going through. I would probably say, if I had to rank this, I'd probably put it on B, I'd say.
I really enjoyed the understudy.
Okay.
I thought the characters were quite compelling, what you wanted, him sort of getting it and everything that happened, and then the twist about, who had actually sort of conspired to do everything and get him that role. I remember sort of the little clip they showed of like her, you didn't quite see it, but you could see it in a way, of her murdering the people. Honestly, I thought it was really well done. I remember being quite shocked when I watched it the first time. Like, Jesus. So I think I could definitely see a B. I'd be willing to go A.
I'm not sure if I'd be willing to go A. It probably would have helped me rewatch this. I think I'm probably looking at it in the grand scheme of things, maybe.
Like, I'd say it's easily better than Sardines.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would say a pretty firm A for me for this episode. I don't think it's an S, but I'd give it an
A. I don't know. Something's just holding me back from an A. I don't know what it is. I think it's just it was it's solid, but I think I maybe just needed that little bit of like the OMG factor almost that you get sometimes in number 9 to really capitalise. Like, I thought it was a very solid story. That's why it's obviously B.
Would you go low A, high B? Like, would you?
I think I'll get it on the list. I definitely would. Yeah, I'd go high B if you're willing to compromise. But we'll rank.
Should we put it there now, and then maybe when more are on there, we can
rank it. We could. Do you know what we do? Could do the rank. We could change our minds. That's the whole fun of this. Yeah. We could. But yeah, we'll put it at B for now, and then we'll see. The Howling. First, big horror episode. This.
I hated it. I hated it so much. I thought it was awful. I think it was too, the characters were just, ridiculous. The main girl was, the only normal one. I know this is what they were going for, but I don't know, it just didn't work for me. I remember she they were like toying with her, but I never really understood why. Like I remember like they put like a fake cat, like a stuffed cat, on the couch, and then they like brought a real cat out and hid the fake one. So she was like, "Oh my god, that cat was fake, and now all of a sudden it's real. What the hell?" And they were like ringing the bell. Like I don't know why they were trying to just guide her up there and toy with her and make her scared. Like it didn't actually serve much of a purpose if all they wanted to do was just give her to the demon possessed man. Like why not just tie her up as soon as she got in? You know what I mean? Like leaving her there to her own tools and devices. It didn't do anything. But why? She could have like smashed a window and gotten out, or just left. I mean, I know her friend was there to try and keep her there, and that was like meant to be a little twist at the end that a friend was involved. But I don't know. It was. I don't think it really made sense, and I didn't think the episode was all that funny either, and I didn't think it was all that scary either. So for me, kind of just sort of failed on all fronts. So for that reason, honestly, I've whacked this episode in like F.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think it's one of the worst episodes they've done.
I have a slightly different opinion because on rewatch, I think I might be looking at it from a technical perspective. I did think it was definitely building towards that point, obviously, of the girl getting tied up towards the end. But everything you've said is really true. I'd probably go D. I don't think it's like bad enough for me to drag it into F. I mean, it's definitely one of the weaker episodes. I'll give you that. Like in terms of the horror ones, I mean, I could probably argue it might be the weakest of the horrors. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but
yeah, I genuinely think it's probably. I mean, I'd have to look at all the rest to know definitively, but I do think it's one of the worst that they've done. I'd be willing to go like low D for now, and we can sort of jiggle it about later as we get more.
I'd go low D. Yeah, should we go? Yeah. I don't think we have much praise with this episode at all.
No, not a fan of this one.
That's series 1 out the way. Let's get on to series 2. La Couchette. I love this episode. It was a very good modern day, like Agatha Christie drama told in the confines of a carriage with 6 beds in. I thought it was a brilliantly innovative style. I thought it had a very good twist. It had a very good brief cameo by Jack Whitehall. And there's this whole sort of conflict of what's gone on. Like, why has it happened? I thought the twist was really good as well. I would say, for me, this is a strong A episode.
I would fully agree that it's a strong A episode. I mean, it's their second like comedic episode.
Yep.
Most of it, if not all of it, rather, was comedy. I think the comedy worked very well. I found myself laughing and just amused and entertained fully by the entire duration. The twist at the end that he killed the wrong person was hilarious because of the big, pooey, farty German man. Yeah, full agreement. I think the fact that it all took place in the confines of a single carriage.
Really good setting,
yeah. I think that's another thing that they do throughout this show is they fully use the number 9 and the places and things that it could be to its fullest. You know what I mean? It's not always just in a house that is number 9.
Yeah.
It's in a train carriage, or later it's just a shoe, or it's a car, or you know what I mean. So yeah, brilliant, loved it.
Love that episode. Yeah, really one of my favourite settings, I'd say, of the whole 9 seasons. I thought it was really good. Really good. 12 Days of Christine. Hope we don't need much deliberation on this.
Not really. It's S, isn't it? It's just
S, 100%.
100% S.
I think the storytelling structure in this, obviously, because we're seeing snapshots of her life almost, and the way it's sort of building to this conclusion that it's obviously taking place in the afterlife, because it, to me, started out as a very like a horror type story with obviously Shearsmith as the guy dressed in white, and it's like he's holding the baby, and it's like, what's really gone on here? Sheridan Smith is one of the best guest performers they've had. That was an unbelievable performance. I'd say a devastated ending. But
I would say this is like the first proper emotional rollercoaster tearjerker episode that they did, and one of the best ones that they've done.
I thought every performance was superb, even from Pemberton and Shearsmith, who were hardly in the episode, and I thought they were really good.
It was like it blended the combination of just sort of supernatural, creepy horror and it being an emotional rollercoaster perfectly, I think.
And the ending where she breaks the fourth wall, says goodbye, that's just superb. What?
Yeah, brilliant.
100%
Easy S there.
Brilliant. The trial of Elizabeth Gadge. Do you want to go first on this?
Yeah, I'd argue this is another one of their weaker ones.
Yeah.
My memory's a bit vague on this one, but I remember not being all that compelled by the story or even the twist. I know the whole thing was meant to be a commentary on sort of mob mentality and, you know, how much of a farce the whole thing really was with all these ludicrous tests and trials and blah blah, and eventually the whole thing just gets spun on them by the end. But I don't know, I think I really wasn't that taken by this episode. I don't, like, for me, the characters and the story, I don't know, it just didn't quite hit.
Yeah, I think your point on it being a bit vague is definitely true. I mean, I've seen this episode this year, and I've not memorable at all, is it?
No,
it's just a bit. I think I saw the twist coming almost. I remember it was obviously. I think there's a bit of commentary on obviously unconscious biases towards who was actually involved in the case. I don't know. I just wasn't a fan of this. I actually think I'd go lower than what I've put on my script, to be honest.
What have you put it as?
A D.
I'd put D. I'd say it's a better episode than The Harrowing, though, for sure.
We can get to that, but yeah.
I'd put Harrowing definitely beneath Elizabeth Gedge.
Should we move on to Cold Comfort? I'm just going to drag it up to where it belongs. Yeah,
yeah, it made it S. This episode is the episode I recommend to everyone. I got just to immediately get them addicted to this show, to ensure that they will forever just want to watch the entire thing, the entire show from start to finish. I go, yeah, just see if you want to watch the show, just watch Cold Comfort, just stick that episode on. Don't worry, it's an anthology series. You don't have to watch it in order, but just to see if you like the show, just watch Cold Comfort. That's the thing I say to everyone, because oh my fucking god, it is so good. That I think the whole security camera layout that they did, I'd never seen something done like that before. I think it's genius.
Yeah.
I think the storyline is like art. That's so compelling. It was so good. The twist was insane.
Yeah.
The ending was like, and then the music playing, the shine. Oh, it's perfect. There's not a single criticism I have of this episode. I think it's a perfect episode. I'd argue it's one of the best in the series. Easy S.
So this was the episode you first recommended to me before I fully became invested in number 9, and I'm 100% with you. I think the storytelling structure is just unbelievable. In terms of, like, you've never seen anything like it. It's also one of the most experimental formats that works brilliantly, because on rewatch, I was watching from the other cameras in the right-hand corner. I wasn't watching Pemberton's camera.
Yeah.
So it's the kind of one that has a lot of pleasure in repeat viewings. The conversations he had with the patient on the phone were nail-biting, I thought. And what it amounted to, of this sort of phone call gone very wrong type stories, was excellent. The final 30 seconds were impeccable. Take that shit.
It's just the whole, topic of like, the type of stuff these people have to listen to and maintain composure for. You know what I mean? It's like the guy, Reese Shearsmith in it said, who therapizes the therapists type, thing. Because he was projecting whatever the hell he had wrong with him by messing with all of his employees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's such a twisty, turny, so good.
It's a really good episode. One of I'd say. I'd also agree. I think it's going to be in a good contention. I reckon when we do our ranking later.
Yeah.
Should we get on to Nana's party? Nana's party. Do you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, another one I rewatched recently. I think I enjoyed this a lot more on second watch than I did first watch. I enjoyed it first watch, 100%. I think I enjoyed it more on a second watch. Either way, I think this is a really, really solid episode. I think the sort of the characters and the secrets that they have and the relationships between them, as you watch it all sort of unfold and crumble down, is absolutely brilliant. The shocking part of it, when the Nan stabs into the cake.
The cake, yeah, that was the best bit.
Oh my god! Because obviously at the very beginning, they had the ambulance man arrive, and you're thinking, oh my god, something terrible must have happened.
Yeah.
But then it all just to end up in some big comedic thing where it turns out he was a stripper. I think this is an absolutely brilliant episode. I'd put it in A.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's the cake part you said was definitely my favourite part of the episode. I think it's had to take quite a. I mean, obviously the divorce being one of the big no, not divorce. Sorry, the affair being one of the big parts of the episode, and sort of how it builds to that. I think is really quite a good exercise in crafting tension, especially because it is just someone hiding under a cake, but you almost go under, holy crap, has that knife just been stabbed into someone's head? I personally was at a B for this.
Okay.
I think it's partially because it's an interesting one because I remember the cake incident really well. Everything else that went on was kind of, it maybe felt like an afterthought almost. I was really quite enjoyed. Pemberton's performance was really good in this one, I thought.
It was. You could see it in his eyes as he was basically watching his entire marriage and family just fall apart in front of him as the sister got progressively more and more, like drunk and outrageous and.
But maybe everyone,
what was going on?
I think I'd be willing to go up to A, but I'd go on the very low end of it, I'd say.
Okay, yeah, I can 100% agree with that.
I think it's up there. Like, I think the tension's unbelievable. It's probably another one episode that's a bit vague in my memory, I'll be really honest. So if I did rewatch it, I'd probably go up. But yeah, low A seems alright for that. Stay on time. Oh, here we go. This is going to be the...
Now, maybe I'm just not a fan of their horror episodes.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't a big fan of Science Time. I can 100% say I enjoyed it a lot more in my second watch than I did my first. I remember really not liking it first watch. I didn't mind it on the second one because I found some parts of it to be quite funny.
Yeah.
Especially with Pemberton.
Pemberton's character, yeah.
Yeah. But overall, I didn't think it was that creepy or scary. And I think, I know they mentioned the whole gorilla incident with the little boy a few times, but I don't know, I wasn't really all that taken by it, and I think the ending, of the little boy just sort of, screaming directly into the telly, I didn't think it was that great.
Yeah, where would you put it? Because this is going to be...
Honestly, I'll put it D.
Okay, oh god, this is going to be a stark on this. This is our first proper disagreement because I rewatched this and I absolutely love this episode. I think
Really?
I don't think it's meant to be scary to me. I think it's more the point of what it's about and how well does it do it justice. I think this, in terms of depiction of what a prank looks like when it goes horribly wrong, was superb. It's got the comedy's really good. Pemberton was really good. I quite like Shearsmith as the host too. But yeah, when it hits the fan, it obviously comes back to the nature of this kid who wet himself live on television. He's now come back. It's the ultimate kind of full circle for me. That karma comes back to bite you in the ass if you think you're going to try and be the leading figure almost.
Yeah, because the people themselves were all most entitled, selfish, egotistical prima donnas ever. The actors and actresses involved. And so, I can definitely see the karma being for that, because, they only cared about themselves. Even where the sort of blue demon dwarf man died, the only thing they were thinking about was the ratings, the show, their career, stuff like that. I think, though, for me, the episode kind of dragged with it, because they were just sort of going in and out of the studio room and the main seance room, like, constantly, and with the bits where it was, them sort of being all egotistical and entitled, it just sort of kept happening over and over and over, and it's like, okay, yeah, I get it, they're egotistical, they're entitled. I didn't have to hear that old woman say for like the 17th time about how she wants a water or the stool for her feet. You know what I mean? I think it got a bit repetitive with the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, on top of the other stuff I said, which is why I sort of gave it a D. I can understand what you're saying though about it not being a horror.
You don't know where I'd put it? I'd put it.
I think I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Where?
You're gonna be shocked when I say this. I'd put it at A.
No way.
Yeah.
Nah. There's no way.
We're gonna have to go on the law of averages anyway, because
I'd be willing to go high C.
You're A and D. So I've said A, you said D. I think that would kind of bring it to around a C. I think if we put it in B, you're going to have an absolute fit. So
yeah, no way.
I knew I was going to lose this, so it's not a problem. I knew I was going to lose, but I'm
willing to go high C. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. First proper disagreement. That was quite a fun one. Series 3 now. In terms of like the season 3, to kick off with Devil of Christmas. I thought this had an absolutely mind-blowing twist. I'd argue it's probably one of the best they've ever done. I think the last 10 seconds just kind of throw this utter curveball. It doesn't even give you time to really think.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think the overall episode itself is a bit meh. I think it's just obviously we're watching this sort of old school 1970s drama play out, and we're looking at obviously Krampus as well, and obviously this thing that we realise is obviously a snuff video nasty type thing. I don't know. I wasn't really swayed on the characters that much. I thought I wish it lent into more the idea of what the big revelation was at the end. I mean, but to be fair, I don't think that revelation would have worked if it had some like.
I don't think it would have had the same impact if it was like foreshadowed heavily throughout.
I think I'd go C on this. I just personally don't think it's that memorable outside of the twist. I think the twist gets it to a C. I don't know if I'd go as high as B.
I would go like low B. That's where I put it. Because I was still kind of interested in what was going on during the bulk of the episode. Because I remember there was one bit the first time I was watching it, and the narrators brought up about how the family wasn't actually eating any food when they're at the dinner table. It just looked like they were. And then it like zoomed in or something.
Yeah.
And then you noticed it, and I was like, oh yeah, I generally didn't even notice that, and so I was sort of interested in what the people were saying. I definitely agree with you that the overall Krampus 70s family, the stuff that took up the bulk of the episode wasn't particularly interesting at all. But then like with that, I'd say it was like a C, maybe even like D. But the twist for me, I think, takes it up to like low C. I mean B.
Yeah, low
B.
B.
Low B.
I'd be willing to compromise on a low B, because I do think the style's done really well. I mean, it does look like an episode that is taken from the 70s. Like I always say, it's almost comparable to something like Late Night with the Devil that actually makes you feel like you're watching a 70s broadcast.
Yes.
So I'll give it technical props. I'm happy with that. Yeah. I'll happily go for a low B on that and the twist is incredible. I'll say that.
Yeah. Properly took me by surprise.
Should we move on to The Bill? What an episode! Shall I let you go first on this?
So much. I love it so much. I think it's absolutely brilliant because arguing about who pays the money. I mean, especially although this is with friends, like, you know, it's on first dates, like who pays the bill? Do you split the bill? And then you do get people out there that are very, very anal about this sort of thing. You can get people that are anal about money. There's the stereotype for each type of person at that meeting. You had I forget the actor's name. He's in loads of stuff. He was in Nativity. I don't want to say the bold one.
Yeah, Jason Watkins, who was in Line of Duty. Yeah,
the bold one. He was like counting every penny. He was like wanted to have everyone pay the exact amount that they paid for. And then you had the two sort of egos of Pemberton, who was like, "I'll get it," and, you know, sort of asserting himself as being this big wig, and the slightly more sort of toned down Reece Shearsmith, who, you know, wanted to take turns and have it sort of be fair, and, you know, and it's sort of clashing with Pemberton, and then obviously the secret victim of what the twist was that it was a scam.
Yeah.
Sort of be like a weird neutral kind of Switzerland in this whole thing, sort of witnessing, and it just sort of grow more and more and more and more out of hand to the point where they're playing the knife game. I was just on the edge of my seat, especially as he like cut himself more and more.
Oh yeah.
Reece Smith's character. I love it. This episode for me is an easy S tier.
It's really interesting. I totally agree with everything that you said. It's the clash of personalities. I think they all brought something really well to the table. Like, one of my favourite gags was, especially with Jason Watkins, as his cat is changed, him offering to pay him his voucher, and then Pemberton just goes,
"If you're going to pay the bill,
if you're going to pay the bill, you're going to pay the bill in pre." And Shearsmith was really good as well, and obviously he faked having a brain tumour. It's quite very dark and comical.
Oh my god, I think it's so funny, but also like it was so. The suspense was massive, and I think what makes it so well written is it was so suspenseful, but they're literally just arguing about a bill.
Yeah.
Like the silliness of what they're arguing about, combined with like how intense it was. I just think it was so well done. This is why it's just an easy S for me. It's so enjoyable. I really love it.
It's quite a charming premise that oddly had so much tension crafted into, like, I would also put this in S, to be honest. I think it's a banger.
Absolute banger in episode. I love it. Brilliant.
100%. Well, that's in S. It's got next one, Riddle of the Sphinx. I'm just gonna.
Yeah. Let's get it all there.
I'll say we watched this actually recently together, and this is one of the best written number 9 episodes in terms of the way every crossword clue links up to this underlying thread of what's going on in the character drama. It's now buying. I've never known a crossword have so much jeopardy involved.
So clever.
The performances are excellent from Pemberton, Shearsmith, and the actress Alexander Roach, I believe her name is. Yeah.
And then that sort of final line, Reece Shearsmith's character says, where he's like, "You never introduce a gun in Act 1 if you're not going to use it by Act 5. Then being used for the ending." The whole thing just coming full circle. It was so dark, and like you say, with every clue, every bit of the crossword being to do with this underlying story and plot. I think for me, this is my personal favourite out of all of their secret revenge
100%.
type
100%.
stories, just because of how goddamn clever it is. It's so well written.
It's so well written.
Because of how dark it gets with him making him eat his own daughter as she's dying and being witness to everything because she can like see and hear despite being paralyzed. Yeah, it was shocking the first time watching it. I was absolutely taken aback. Loved it.
There's this point on it, the egos, particularly with Pemberton's character, of the whole sort of family dynamic. It was a son, wasn't it, who committed suicide? Yeah, such a good character.
It even had its odd moment of comedy.
It did.
With I forget the actress's name, but she's in a lot of British stuff.
Alexander Roach. Yeah.
Everyone in Son Number 9 is like just one of those British actors that you just see all the time in like something, and I feel bad for not knowing their names. Because they're all brilliant actors and actresses, every single one of them. Yeah, easy S.
Easy S. Let's do Empty Orchestra. I know you watched this recently. Do you want to kick this one off?
First time I watched this, I thought it was again just very boring. This is one that was more to do with the relationships and the characters themselves. It wasn't a big conspiracy thriller or horror or anything like that. There was no secret revenge plotline. It was purely just focused on the relationships the characters had. It was more of an emotional type story.
Yeah.
And the first time I watched it, again, I could have been like 15, who knows. But I thought it was so boring. Did not care. Upon rewatch, though, I actually quite enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I don't think it is as far as their emotional ones go, I'd argue it's probably a pretty average one. But I think the dynamic between all the characters and them, all being colleagues, I think it all worked quite well. Because you had like the affair and other stuff. I enjoyed it more. I'd say it was a very average episode though. I'd put it at like C.
I also put it at C.
Yeah.
I didn't rewatch this, but it felt like it's a nice hangout episode. It's definitely one of the less melancholic episodes almost. I think so. I remember Pemberton was the one who was leaving his character, and obviously
he was being promoted, wasn't he? I think he'd been like promoted.
Yeah,
and he was tasked with firing one of them, but he in the twist he revealed that he couldn't do it. He couldn't fire any one of them, so he himself had like chosen to leave.
Yeah. Definitely one I could have done with rewatching, but just I do. There are nicer episodes that work better than this, which I think might be its shortcings. I think I'd go C on this as well. I'd be totally with you on this. So
it's just very average.
Very average, yeah, 100%. Diddle Diddle Dumpling. Oh.
I think it'd be good for me to start on this one. Yeah, actually.
You start first
because. Again, first time I watched this, I thought this was very boring and even kind of dumb. It was like, a shoe? Really? This is all about a goddamn shoe? The first time watching it. And then, when we sort of discussed the idea of doing this whole tier list thing, you brought up Diddle Diddle Dumpling and you mentioned how this is apparently one of your favourite episodes and you really, really love it and you think it's brilliant. And upon hearing that, I was just like, what? But it had been years since I've seen it, so we rewatched it together. And honestly, like I saw what you meant. I really, really enjoyed it on the rewatch. I thought it was brilliant. If you want to go and explain why,
it's because this is what the show does best. It's almost like the you could argue, it takes such a gimmickry premise of finding a shoe in the street, and it builds half an hour of probably the most nail-biting character drama you've watched. Shearsmith's performance is excellent in this in particular. Very good study of grief, actually, with the shoe, oddly. The ending, the extra little bit that you get, it was sort of what it meant for Shearsmith to get the other shoe. Because it's very much a theme of the episode. Shoes always come in like twos. It's got to be in a pair. Like things being together, then you realise what that statement really means. I think it's genius, this episode. I would put it in A.
A.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say B.
No. My mind just fully changed upon rewatch for Diddle Diddle Dumpling. A.
I'm good on this show. I'm quite persuaded. Yeah, it's a cracking episode. Should we get on to Private View? I like this one. It's pretty solid fare. I remember that it turned into this almost like slasher-esque episode with Fiona Shaw, who was in Killing Eve. It's quite a sharpness to the pacing, I thought, in this episode. It's got quite a good capitalist edge. Similarly with how he talks about Opus, with this idea of looking at what critiques have to say about art. I think it's quite a good theme in the episode. I would probably put this at a solid B, I'd say.
See, I really liked the bulk of this episode. I was really invested in them dying, one by one, being killed up. I liked the twist that it was her the entire time. She was the mother of this guy. I liked her reasoning for killing them all off. It was really quite interesting. The idea of organs being donated, but the people they're donated to, a mother not liking what they've done with their lives, that they're not worthy of it. I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
But I hated the ending.
Oh, interesting. I really liked I liked who survived.
He looked like he was about to die, and then all of a sudden he just survived, and he got out, and I guess killed her and put her heart in the jar, and he was heading up the exhibition and profiting off of it. I think he just should have died. I don't know how he got out. How did he get out?
I think he was looking like he broke free because his hands were tied in rope, but one of his hands looked like it was pretty much free, and I reckon he got free and hit her probably.
I know, but I don't know. I didn't like it. I just think he should have died and had his heart put in the jar, and the exhibition would be her profiting off of it, and being proud that her son is now at least in a better place. I think he should have died.
Interesting.
So what you put it in B, did you say?
Yeah.
For that reason, I put it at a C because I didn't like the ending.
Interesting. I did like the cast. I did like Fiona Shaw. I thought, but that end, interesting. I didn't mind the ending personally, actually. You reckon?
I don't know. High C, low B. I'd be happy with either, really.
Yeah. I feel like it would be literally sort of there for me.
I'll go low B. Go low B.
We'll go low B, yeah.
I'll go low B.
On to Series 4. On to Zanzibar. What a depressive episode this was for me. We rewatched this, and it was this whole sort of style of iambic pentameter. I just thought it was an absolute farce. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have used the word depressive to describe this episode because the whole episode itself was really quite jolly in nature. It was
it was depressive for me to watch, I'll say.
Yeah. It was meant to be like a fun comedy romp type thing. They're all like rhyming words, and yeah, I wasn't a fan either. I didn't find
Where,
it that funny.
no,
Um, the story itself, how all the characters' lives kind of sort of intertwined. Yeah, I wasn't really taken by it.
no.
I don't think this is the best of their comedic episodes. And it wasn't an emotional one for me either.
No.
So on those two fronts, the style I wasn't a fan of either. So yeah.
I honestly, I've been weighing up 2 grades in my head here. I could honestly argue F. Or would you go D? I'm sort of on the fence a
I'd be
bit.
tempted to go D because I 100% believe that
There was an ambition.
the harrowing and what's the other one we've got in D?
Trial of Elizabeth.
I would say those, but 2 episodes are worse than Zanzibar, 100%.
Interesting. I'm happy with D. I did write D or F down, so I'm happy to stick it in D. Probably not one worth to stick over too much. Let's get on to Bernie Clifford's dressing room. This was the episode that inspired Pick a Card, the short film I did for my final year undergraduate project for university. I adore this episode. I think it's, if you take the context of obviously cheese and crackers and all the performance stuff that obviously is related to in the episode, if you look at the episode as a mediation of Reese and Steve's friendship, it is brilliant. I think the ending, whilst doing something similar to Christine, it does it still in a very effective way with the dance sequence. The Tears of Laughter, that's such a cracking number.
I remember it being quite the tearjerker. This one my memory's a bit hazy on. I think I needed to have rewatched it really.
Yeah.
But I remember enjoying the episode. It wasn't the most thrilling one or anything like that, but it wasn't meant to be. It was meant to be a bit of an emotional ride of you know, seeing these characters and their friendship and what it all meant, and I think it did it very well. Not as good as Christine, but Christine is in a league of its own. So
where would you go on the tier for this?
high B, maybe low A.
I was gonna, well, I was near. I'm A trending up to S personally, just because it had.
Go S. I wouldn't go S for me personally. I'll go A.
I'll compromise on an A. I'll compromise on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't help but think Christine is in a different. It's up there as one of my favourites still, for sure. But yeah, I'm just looking at with the fact we've got 6 in S. That is just mental.
It's just such a good show.
Should we get?
I feel like a couple of these, I would do definitely want down in F, like the heroin. I really want that in F.
We'll have that. Should we get on to what's removed?
Yes.
Do you want to lead this one?
Yeah, so obviously this makes me think of the film Memento, because it follows the same sort of style, where the film is in reverse, almost. And you begin with a utter chaos. What on earth has happened here? And as the film goes backwards, you figure out how and why. I think it was really funny. I think it was quite a funny episode. I laughed a lot during it. And then I thought the plot of the hitman and everything as well was also really compelling. I really enjoy Once Removed. I think it's a really great episode. So for me, it's like A.
I would also agree with the A. I think it's a brilliant sort of little puzzle piece of obviously the hitman, what he's there for, and because you remember the episode starts with just like nearly everyone basically getting killed, and then you're just like, what on earth? And then you sort of piece the layers together. It tells quite a, I don't say conventional, it tells quite a compelling story, but it tells it in reverse structure that works very well.
It does it really well.
Very entertaining. The deaths I thought were quite inventive, actually.
Yeah.
It was just the way.
One of them's in the carpet, one of them's on the toilet, another one's
Carpet one was good.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd go A for this, 100%. I'm happy with that.
100% easy A.
Very happy with that. To have and to hold. God, this is a very dark episode, isn't it?
When the twist happened for this one, I was literally like, "What?" I
Yeah.
didn't see that coming at all. And then when I looked at the name of the episode and saw it was To Have and to Hold, the whole thing in my head was like, "Oh my God!" Because for the most of the episode, it being about their relationship, I was like, "Oh, here we go. It's just another sort of tearjerker, emotional one about a marriage." But then the ending, oh my, the twist and the ending, I think were just huge.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I'm like torn between B and A.
I
Maybe
will.
B. I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's. You know, genuinely, the grade I'd written on it was B. So I'd be very happy with a B.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think it starts out quite casually, and then when you get to that shift, it's like, holy crap! I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever look at a pot noodle in a very different way. Yeah, it's just. I think maybe it's too dark that it lacks rewatchability for me. I couldn't ever imagine myself saying, "What am I going to watch tonight? Let's watch To Have It Told." Uh,
I think
yeah,
it's because the majority of the episode is sort of them and their relationship.
I liked it. I liked it. I'd go B as well. I'm quite happy to go B.
B.
Yeah,
Yeah, go B. B.
and the winner is. I'll kick this one off because obviously it's this television awards company who are going to decide who wins the best actress.
Yep.
You think with the dialogue in this episode that I would be more sort of compelled because it's almost like conversations we have, like me and you, almost I could say.
Yeah.
Bizarrely, I found it to be a little bit thin. I just thought the twist. Wasn't a fan of the twist. I
No.
liked how it was looking at the art of criticism, but I just thought it lacked. I think the through line of it wasn't the most cohesive. I'd argue. I think the end goal. I did feel like it was really. I wasn't a fan of the twist at all.
I think the story itself, like you say, it wasn't that compelling. Like I didn't really care that much about who won or who didn't win. I wasn't interested at all in the discussions that they were having. I suppose because the singer themselves is fictional, made up. Um, I feel like it needed a little something else,
Yeah, I'd agree.
maybe to sort of keep you on your toes. Because overall, it wasn't a dark episode. It wasn't a thrilling episode. There was nothing to get emotionally attached to, really. You're literally just watching a discussion, and oh my god, the singer themselves was one of the people. Wow. That was basically it. So
Yeah.
overall, for me, it was a pretty boring episode.
Mm. I was going to go C. I can understand the D.
Yeah, D for me.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna agree. High D, I'd say. Just nothing stuck out,
Yeah.
bizarrely. And there's an episode later that we get on that talks about fandom that I think does it a lot better. We'll get onto that episode. Tempting Fate. Tempting Fate. It's very yeah. Sorry, you go first. Sorry.
I honestly quite enjoyed this episode.
As as did I. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant then. For some reason, I thought you didn't like this episode. I don't know why.
I enjoyed it a lot. I don't. I just maybe because I didn't remember it. The second time I watched it, I was really quite compelled by it, actually.
Yeah, I think the whole like monkey's paw wishes type thing. It's a concept that's been done before. I mean, there's a few episodes where they play with concepts and stuff that's been done elsewhere before, but they do it in their own Inside Number Nine style.
Yeah.
And either way, it's entertaining as hell. Um, it's dark, it's funny, and then I think the ending, sort of having a little bit of a twist to it with the ceiling collapsing on them all, was was good. I didn't think it was like a wow moment or anything, but overall it was thoroughly an entertaining episode.
Yeah,
Um, I didn't think it was it wasn't an episode that left me going wow or anything at the twist, but I think the things that it did in the Inside Number 9 style, it did well, and it was just enjoyable.
I'd say a very solid episode as well. So it's quite a good exploration of greed, I think, particularly with the monkey sport. Definitely would say, sort of on the level you put it, that it doesn't do anything like wow, but it does it very solidly as a whole. I'd probably say a solid B for this episode.
Yep, solid B, absolutely.
Let's get on to Deadline, the live episode.
I watched this episode today
Yeah.
because I went,
Okay.
oh shit, I forgot to watch Deadline. I need to
Yeah.
watch it. And I watched the whole thing. I didn't like skip through the parts where it's like, sorry,
Yeah.
technical difficulties. I
Yeah.
think because I didn't watch it live, I might have enjoyed it more live. So I had to try and like sort of put myself in the frame of mind of watching it live rather than
Yeah.
having streamed it later. Because I think it would have been a hell of a lot more confusing watching it live and
Yeah. I'd agree with
being
you
there
on
for
that.
all that. I also sort of already knew going into it that that was what was gonna happen. Um, so I don't know. I find it really, really difficult trying to rank this one because overall I was just sort of on it, but I don't know if I'd have enjoyed it more if I watched it live. Like I can see. I think it was very creative what they went for and did with it. I can't think
Yeah.
of anything else that has done that like they've done. So
I
I don't.
think
I genuinely don't know where to place it.
I've got a grace for this. I really like this episode. Like you, I didn't watch it live. As an experimental piece, I think it's incredible. Because the way you think it goes wrong, and then it starts replaying A Quiet Night In. uh,
Mm,
it was, and then it turns into, because if you're watching a live episode, then you're actually watching Gremlins at the BBC studio, and I think the way they planned, I think was it they on the One Show, and they were saying, talking about ghosts, and then the irony that ghosts get them at the end.
yeah.
Are you unsure of a grade? Because I had one I was quite firm on.
What's your one?
I'd go A.
I'd be tempted to go B.
Oh, okay.
Um, but I think
I
I
can
could settle
understand.
for like low A.
I think it's mainly. The reason why I went A is because I think it's just one of the best genre experiments I've seen.
Yeah, I
We'll get
think for
on
that
to
reason, I'd be tempted to go low A. Yeah.
the other experiment didn't work as well, but we'll get on to that. The referee's a wanker. Watched this recently.
Yeah. I'm not a big football guy. I
Neither am I.
could not care less about football. So I think people that do like football might be more into it. Um, because they can sort of empathize with the whole "you do anything for your team" type thing. I know nothing about football. I've watched it. Obviously, I go to the pub and I'll watch it with people if they want me to. But overall, I don't care. So maybe because of that, I'm not as invested as I could be. Um, Even so, it wasn't the funniest episode ever. I think it maybe could have been funnier.
Hmm.
The dynamic between the ref and the captain, because they were having a
Yeah,
relationship and affair, that was actually somewhat compelling.
yeah.
But I don't know. Overall, I wasn't that taken by this episode.
Where would you put it? Would you reckon in the terms of the
C.
tier?
I'll put it in C.
I'd agree. I'd agree on C. I think there's some good ideas lurking in this episode. I think Steve Pemberton's quite funny. Maybe somewhat gets one-liners that I think are quite good. But I'm the same position as you. I don't really care for football at all. That probably may have not helped either of us in this episode. I think is like you said with the relationship. It does try and do something interesting, but I don't think it quite capitalizes on it. I think it just felt a bit. There's a lot of good ideas, but I think it just maybe didn't know what it wanted to do with itself.
I don't know. Yeah, I felt I felt like it could have been funnier. I think that's
Yeah,
just. I think it was if it was funnier, I'd be tempted to go B, but
yeah, we'll go see.
I'll say
We'll go see. I'm happy with that. Death, be not proud. So this is a really interesting one. This because I know it's obviously connected to Psychoville. Um,
Psychoville.
yeah, do you not know the show yeah, the characters they were playing, David and Reese were playing the mum, were characters off another show they did called Psychoville.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah,
What is that?
yeah, it was a bit like League of Gentlemen almost, where they play multiple characters.
Oh,
In
okay.
Psychoville. This was I liked it. I thought it could have been even more dramatic. Well, it was quite dramatic. I mean, the guy was holding a baby over like a pot boiler. um, I enjoyed it actually. I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it more than I thought on rewatch. Actually, I thought this exploration of the mother's ghost being in the presence of the son was quite compelling. I thought maybe I didn't care as much because I've not seen Psycho, but I think that could be another affecting factor. I don't know what about yourself.
Well, I had no idea about Psychoville, and I'm guessing a majority of viewers also would not know about Psychoville. So my experience watching it for the first time and my experience on rewatch is basically the same, which is that I did not like this episode. Um, I don't think the sort of horror ghosty element worked. I know it wasn't, they weren't going to be scary, but I don't know. Either way, it didn't work. Didn't think the episode was that funny either.
Mm,
I wasn't a fan of the characters of Pemberton's character or Shearsmith's character. I mean, the ending where they were just dancing. I don't know if this would all be better contextualized
with
in
Psychoville.
Psychoville, but I get maybe because I haven't watched it. I thought all of it was really stupid. I wasn't. I thought the plot was bad.
Mm,
Um, yeah, and then Clara from Doctor Who. Crap.
mm.
What's her name? Jenna Coleman.
Jenna Coleman, yeah.
Her just sort of killing her boyfriend at the end. I like. I don't know. It felt like it was done for the sake of being done, for the sake of there being like a bit of a
Mm,
dark twist.
mm,
I wasn't. Yeah, I just don't think any of it was done well.
mm.
I'd argue this is one of their weakest episodes.
Where would you put it?
F. I'd
Jesus,
happily put it in F.
I honestly went C. Uh, so that would average it out to a D, which I think sounds fair.
I feel like we gotta have some stuff in F though.
Oh,
Currently, we got nothing in F.
there is an episode coming that is in F for me. Trust me, I think it's going to be the same one.
Okay. All right. Slap a
There
D
is
in there.
one F. There is one F for me coming up. Love's Great Adventure.
Yeah, this was an emotional one.
Yeah,
I think I definitely prefer, like on a personal matter, the sort of more thriller type episodes. But even
yeah, of
so,
course. Yeah, I was going to say that as well.
it's even so, like it does what it sets out to do very well. Um, and for that reason, I don't think there's anything wrong with the episode. It's just I think this one is purely just a matter of like personal preference.
Yeah, that's a good statement.
Um, I don't know. I think maybe B. Like I don't think it's a bad episode at all. I think it does what it does very well.
I honestly was gonna go C on this
I could see C. I'll happily give this
because
episode a C.
I feel like I like the structure of the episode. Obviously, opening the advent calendar doors. I like that explanation of it's a personal preference because I feel like it's a solid family drama. I think it just needs to do something a bit remarkable with its structure because I quite like the structure quite a lot to the episode. I just thought it was a bit, yeah. I will go see. If we've changed the layout slightly, just a quick update. The podcast software we're using has decided to crash on me, so very quickly I've had to switch over to good old Zoom for old time's sake. So let's crack on with misdirection for the third time. So, misdirection, yeah, I think this is an S2 episode because I think there's such a good sort of rivalry that's played off between Shear Smith's character and the young actor Fionn Whitehead, who's in Dunkirk. I think there's this really interesting look at legacy that a magician leaves. What does their work truly stand for? The magician Neville Griffin, obviously literally steals for his own good at the start. It it is mostly a conversation between the two of them on sort of legacy, what does their work stand for, and it's absolutely so compelling, and the twist is incredible as well.
I think it is a really cleverly written episode. I
It's brilliant.
think it honestly it rivals or tries to rival Riddle of the Sphinx with like how clever it is. With the different tricks and as per the title, the misdirection and how it all eventually culminates in the revenge plot. Absolutely agree. S tier episode. I think Riddle of the Sphinx is probably a little bit better than it, but Misdirection is so good.
It's
As you
up
might see
there.
it the whole time. I'd say for me personally, I'd say it's like the second best secret revenge plot type episodes.
I'd 100% agree. 100% agree. It's totally yeah. Reminds me of things like Prestige as well, just in terms of what legacy truly means. Yeah, totally good revenge movie. If you got to thinking out loud, oh, this is going to be an interesting one.
F. Straight away, how this episode bored living daylights out of me.
Well, it actually didn't for me.
Did it not? Damn. Okay.
I quite like the format, quite like the experimentation it told because it was just literally these few characters talking to the camera. I think it's quite a playful structure. The twist, I don't know if it was needed almost of the identity disorder. Uh, like it just felt a bit unnecessary almost.
I don't
But
know. Like the things the characters were talking about to the screen genuinely just it just bored me. Like
it's a personal preference app, like Love's Great Adventure. I'd say this because I didn't mind it personally. I'd probably say C, which would average it to a D. There is
even the killer identity guy I wasn't even that taken by. He
yeah,
just
because
seemed a bit too tropey, American Texas sounding man.
I personally would go C for this, but that would average it to a D. There is an F episode coming, trust me.
Yeah, D. I'm gonna have to sort of compromise and go D.
Yeah, I'd
For
go. Yeah,
me, this is an F episode, like the heroine and Death Be Not Proud.
I certainly would say it's a lot better than those two, but we'll get onto that sort of in the ranking. The stakeout.
For me, I think this is another F. I I
Yeah,
think the twist was pretty bad about him being a vampire. I don't
yeah.
think it was. I think it was something that needed foreshadowing, and it was not foreshadowed at all. It just sort of randomly happened right at the end. Um, them just sort of sitting there in the car, because like I know it ended up being somewhat foreshadowed because there was garlic in the curry, and they were just playing that game. And then what happens, or yes, and something like that. I don't know. I don't, whatever the is they were talking about, I don't think it was particularly interesting. So it was just another episode where I thought it was pretty boring. And I think maybe if they had written it to be a bit more to do with the conspiracy of his partner dying and what happened to his partner and how maybe I'd have enjoyed it more, but it was very much a background thing. And then right at the end, oh my God, he's a vampire. He fucking sucked his blood out and killed him. Ah, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting you say that.
I was gonna go a bit high on this because they did quite like the conversations they were having in the car. I just
Did
thought
you?
that I
No.
thought uh, I wasn't a fan of the twist at all. I don't think it even needed. It could have been even as simple as, oh, this is the partner that killed his previous partner or something like that.
Yeah.
If anything, I thought that was the way it was going with it being called the stakeout. Quite I did quite like this, oddly. I think as a viewer, you're very much made to feel on the outside looking in at what was going on. You didn't really have that sense of what was going on outside the car. I think it was quite a good exercise in restraint again.
Hmm.
Where would I pull it? Is the question. Um,
Like I guess the title is a play on words because of vampires and stake out.
I
But
would honestly probably put it at, it's gonna get a D again, but I'd put it at C. In all honesty, that's my own.
I think I'm happy with D. I'll
There is
happily give it a D.
there is a what I'm gonna go quite full on. Well, Wuthering Heights.
Wuthering Heist.
The episode I literally just watched before we decided to come on air. Uh, I could argue this is an F.
Yeah,
Because I think there is so much this episode could have done that it made into this absolute pantomime of a farce that was just I don't know. I just really didn't like it at
I was
all.
experimental and like you say, I don't think it worked.
It didn't
The
work.
whole thing was just way too ludicrous.
And the,
They're all like clowns and like you say, it felt like a panto. I don't think the episode was funny, and I don't think the heist itself was, and the plot that like the woman was a undercover cop or anything was particularly interesting. I
it
just,
felt it felt very incidental. It felt like nothing had any consequence, which is bizarre when half the characters die at the end.
yeah, it just felt kind of flat.
I wasn't a fan. I'm going to slap this in F.
Yeah.
Simon Says, one that I actually rewatched on the back of you saying you were going to rewatch it. So, do you want to go first with this?
I quite like this episode.
I quite like it as well.
I don't think it's like amazing, but I think it's a pretty solid episode. Um, I think, and you mentioned this to me before, it's to do with something George R. R. Martin said, because he's on about like fans and fans wanting things, but you can't just sort of do and write what the fans want. You got to make the decision that's best for the character, that's best for the story. And he was saying that in reference to killing off Ned Stark at the very, in season one of Game of Thrones or whatever the first book was in A Song of Ice and Fire. Um, and it's absolutely true because you especially today with social media, you get these fandoms that are so devoted and fanatical about the thing that they're interested in, and they'll write, fan fictions, and it's harmless, obviously. Um, and they can love and be devoted as they want. You got like, trouble is, a lot of studios these days, they sort of weaponize the idea of fandoms against it. Like they'll be like, oh, they hated this thing because the fans are just crazy and they're bad and um they're bombing the reviews, they're bombing the thing because they're crazy. But that's not true. Fans can be devoted. And if something is not faithful to the source material, then there's nothing wrong with that. But obviously the Inside Number 9 episode, sort of plays with those ideas and takes it into a very interesting direction.
Yeah. Um, I thought it was quite an intrinsic dive into fandom. I know we spoke about obviously with And the Winner Is. I think does the sort of the art of the critical conversations a lot better, and it does them in a lot more interesting ways. I find. I think obviously we've got Shearsmith as the hardcore fan. I think he did quite a good performance actually, especially with how involved he was. He had this whole case regarding Gavin, which I thought was quite a nice little dramatic plot. It did really feel like it was poking fun at Game of Thrones. I don't know if you felt that because you've obviously seen the Game of Thrones finale and I've not seen a single episode.
I've seen all of it, yeah.
Did you think it was quite a good mockery of sort of when a show goes wrong?
Yeah, I think it was more to do with, um, but well, yeah. I mean, I suppose the beginning of the episode was sort of talking about how like crap the finale was and how everyone. But I think the Game of Thrones finale, that's not even a case of like it not doing what the fans wanted. The Game of Thrones finale was just one of those poorly written, shoddy, sloppy pieces of crap ever. Um, so I mean, yeah, I'm all for everything, making fun of it.
Hmm. Yeah, was good, quite compelling. I'd probably put this in a solid B.
Yeah, I think I'd go for B.
Then we get on to lip service. I rewatched this recently, actually. Obviously, it very much felt quite Hitchcockian, I would say, in the sense that obviously it's looking at the binoculars, looking through the window. I really quite enjoyed this episode on a second view, and it was a lot better than what I remembered it being for some reason. Uh,
I've only seen this episode the once, and I really enjoyed it. I really, in particular, enjoyed the twist.
oh, the twist was great.
Yeah,
Yeah, of what it's all been building towards, and it happens really quite abruptly. So you just need to
yeah.
get your head around it. I
I
thought
think
shit.
when
I've,
the twist isn't just some because by this point, what season are we in now? Five or six, maybe seven. I don't even know. The whole secret revenge twist sort of has been done multiple times. So when you get a twist that isn't, and the twist is quite creative, and new and fresh, it's always a surprise to see. And the twist in this that she was framing him as an assassin was something not seen or done before. So it was really enjoyable seeing it.
yeah, no, yeah, I would. In terms of my grade, I'm like high B, low A on this. I don't know about you.
I would say B.
Yeah, I was leaning more B, uh, but I really quite like this. Uh, hurry up and wait. What a weird one this was.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this one. Um, I didn't like the character of the daughter who was like holding in the twist. It turned out she was holding the dead baby the entire time.
Yeah,
Um, the family, that whole thing, and him sort of, yeah. I just wasn't a big fan of the story. I just didn't think it was particularly that interesting or intense or suspenseful or anything like that.
yeah, yeah. I think it was building towards something really quite intuitively meta about what is the script that Shearsmith is reading almost that I don't think it really capitalized on.
Mm. I think it honestly could have done without the character of I forget the actor's name, but he's also from
I,
Line of Duty.
Adrian Dunbar, yeah,
Yeah, because he was, I suppose, there to add a comedic element to it, as he was like taking more and more of Reece Shearsmith's lines to the point where his whole role was kind of just eliminated from the film that he wanted to be a part of.
yeah,
Um, I think I would have just it rather have gotten rid of that and it just focused on being trapped in this van with this family and being scared, thinking that they'd been responsible for like the death of a child. I think it'd have done better as just it being purely sort of thriller and suspense focused, and taken most of the comedy out of it.
mm, yeah. I'd agree on that. I think it doesn't know what it wants to be at times. It's quite a good description.
Yeah,
Where would you slap it on the tier list?
yeah, C or D really.
I was going to go C because I quite like the ideas of the ambition of the meta aspect, but I just think it didn't capitalize. I don't think it was bad
Yeah,
enough to go D. I'd go
like
low C.
low C, low C. Yeah,
I'm happy with that. And then we get on to how do you plead? Uh, shall I go first on this one? Because I've got
sure.
quite. I think this is the best episode of season 6. actually. I think the performances are arguably some of the best across the entire series. You got Shearsmith is incredible in this episode, because he's obviously playing this carer and he's obviously got a very dark edge. And then there's Derek Jacobi, is always great. Pemberton had a very good role at the end, actually, as well. I thought this was it's quite a manipulative episode, this, because it really looks at this idea of committing sins and what they truly represent. I remember I've only seen the episode the once, but I remember I really quite was taken aback by it. How about yourself?
I think this is one, it reminds me of Tempting Fate because it takes a very sort of simple concept that's been done before in media, loads and loads and loads. So obviously in Tempting Fate it was the monkey's paw. In this one it was a sort of Faustian deal with the devil type thing. Like that's been done loads of times, but it did it in sort of an Inside Number Nine kind of style where there was a bit of comedy to it and it was dark again with a sort of twisty ending about Reese Shearsmith's his character's past,
Yeah,
that he wasn't as nice and devoted and innocent as he seemed, which in the end saved his life.
yeah,
I think Pemberton played the devil really well. I think overall the story itself was really quite interesting and well done. I think it was a solid episode. It didn't
yeah,
wow me, especially like others have done, but I think it was a solid episode, yeah.
yeah. I honestly might go a bit high. I'd go A on this.
I'd say A.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say B. Yeah, I was happy with that. Yeah, definitely,
I was debating B, but I think it's an A.
100%. Let's get on to the last episode of Series 6, the last night of the proms.
I think Reese Shearsmith is the best part of this episode.
I'd completely agree. I really thought there was no through line of this episode in terms of what I don't think there was one strand that was stuck towards. I think there was this idea of obviously one of the British characters watching it, then you find out she's a part German. Well, that was interesting, but they really didn't capitalize on it. There was the random person at the door that I thought didn't wasn't
He's
needed
meant to be
at
like a
all.
parallel to like Jesus or something because of the nails and the fact he got sort of speared. And there's the comedy with between him and Reece Shearsmith's wife because she obviously hadn't been intimate with anyone in years.
Yeah,
Like Reece Shearsmith, and he brought a certain tension to the episode by being so goddamn like mean and cruel and uh, just you know what I mean.
yeah,
He's the one that sort of kept it at least somewhat interesting because other than him, I think overall it was a pretty boring episode.
completely with you. Where would you put it is a question.
Probably D, to be fair.
Honestly, I would be D trending F.
Yeah,
I'd accept the
I
D.
think we need to. The F category is very thin at the moment,
Yeah.
so
Maybe,
I think
maybe, yeah, we can maybe pick one each from D to take down if we fancy.
yeah,
Uh, but Series 6 aside, move on to Series 7. We're getting there. We're getting there.
getting there.
Merrily, merrily. Quite a cathartic episode, this, I thought. Um, thought was definitely quite a melancholic feel, particularly towards the end, I think. And I thought the ending was really it's quite a tearjerker almost. It's quite a reflective one that leaves you in a bit of silence almost. Maybe one of the episodes wasn't too wowed by such, just think it's a really solid one. I would personally probably put it around the B category.
Yeah, it's another one that for the bulk of it is focused on sort of the characters themselves, their relationships, them as people, an emotional sort of drama type one. So obviously we were just talking about last night at the proms, that's like a family drama. I think this one where it's between friends and them catching up and what they've done with their lives and how they're feeling about it. Yeah, I think it was done much better. I was a lot more invested into them as characters and how they were feeling about one another and the interactions and dynamics
Yeah.
between them. And then I think the twist that you know, sort of like Greek mythology, they were boating across the river Styx into the afterlife because they were all already dead.
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot about the mythology, in all fairness.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was very well done. So I'm in full agreement. I think it's a solid B.
Yeah. Happy with that. Mr. King. You want to kick this one off?
Yeah, this was an interesting watch. I think for me, the twist, it was very unexpected. I didn't think
So,
it was foreshadowed at all.
mm,
I can't think off the top of my head. I might be misremembering, I don't know. Um, I mean, I liked the twist, but um, I don't know. It was very unexpected though. It wasn't a boring episode at all.
no.
Um, I don't know. I think it's really difficult. I'm finding it hard to judge, Mr. King.
I'd agree with you on this. I think the twist was really unexpected. Like when the whole thing's like this whole class is a cult and it's obviously very Wicker Man inspired. I was like just
Mm.
taken aback a minute. I was like, because I think from what it was alluding to, from what I remember, it was this child exploitation sort of
Yeah, you
establishment.
thought he was like a being made out to be like a pervert or a paedophile or something.
And I liked Shear Smith's like, questionable character. The questions proposed were quite interesting. I thought before the twist, I thought the episode was excellent. I don't know why.
Yeah,
When the revelation came, I would probably go around a B on this.
I was gonna say C. I was gonna say C. I think the twist dropped it for me. I think it was a bit too unexpected, a bit too out there. I think they maybe could have made some different choices with the episode. Maybe changed the twist to something else more
Yeah.
related to what it was building up to, or maybe did a bit more foreshadowing to what the twist was. Uh, yeah.
Mm, yeah. It was really good though. The first 20 minutes I was just yeah, I was quite captivated. It's just that yeah, I'll agree on a high C, I think.
Yeah, I see. I see.
Uh and then we have Nine Lives Cat. I think this is where it's gonna get divisive.
Yeah, for me, this was an F episode. I thought the character of Kat was one note and bland as hell. She didn't really do much. She she was just, you know what I mean? She was just sort of there. She drank,
Mm.
and I can't. It was her entire character was not memorable at all to me. And then she herself was literally a character being written by someone else, and then they themselves were also a character being written by someone else. And the whole thing, you know what I mean? It was almost like Inception. It was just like one layer after another layer. Um, I don't know. I think that the twist was just a bit too ludicrous for me. It because the story itself really wasn't all that interesting.
Mm.
Like I think maybe if they'd actually tied in the detective work or whatever crime they were looking at a bit more. Because if you think about it, that entire sort of chunk of the story is completely irrelevant. Those characters could have been doing anything or been
Mm.
anyone else. You could swap it out for literally anything, and it wouldn't have changed a damn thing about the story or the twist. Um, you know what I mean? You could have, it could be, it could be anything, and right at the end, you could have just gone, ah, yeah, they're made up from a writer, and then that writer's also actually made up from another writer who's the
Mm.
real writer all along. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't think it was the best.
Mm. Interesting. I completely disagree. I really quite like this episode. I think in terms of obviously you said I'd agree the detective work is a bit redundant almost because it feels almost like an afterthought to what the bigger picture is. I think for how it depicts writer's block and what it means to put a character in the bin, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And I've been through those thoughts of working with characters in
Mm.
screenplays and having to put them in the bin, unfortunately, and work out who's necessary and who isn't. So I think it was an episode that spoke to me a lot on a personal level. Uh,
Okay. No, that makes
you-
sense. I've not
why
really
did you
sort of
stick it?
experienced that.
Why did you stick it in F?
I was very bored throughout, and I
You
thought
wanna know
the twist was underwhelming. Yeah,
where I honestly will go, will average it, but you're gonna be shocked when you hear what I've put it at.
there's no way you got it S. There's no way. Surely not.
Honestly, I put it at A tier,
A tier.
which would average
So
it to a C. So
C.
we both walk away unhappy. Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
I just think it's one of the very few that's spoken to me those episodes. That's why I just love it as much as I do. And as sort of the layering aspect, it, I thought the twist of Pemberton's character being a character, literally, I
Mm.
thought that was really good. But yeah, very divisive one that. I thought that was going to be one. Kidnap.
Another comedy episode. I think this is one of the more weaker comedy episodes, although I still very much enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Um, I wasn't the biggest fan of, again, forget the actor's name, also from Line of Duty,
Daniel Mays. Yeah.
because he played a very sort of stupid character.
Daniel Mays, yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I can't think of much wrong with it. I think
Mm,
it's a personal preference on what you make of the comedy. I think
mm.
the plot line itself of them trying to sort of get away with Robin, Reece Shearsmith's character, I think was interesting. I just think it was, as far as the comedy episodes go, it's just one of the more weaker ones.
Mm. Um, yeah, very mixed on this episode. I quite like the structure of it, the split screen structure. Quite like the performances as well. It's got arguably, I think, two of the best guest stars in Daniel Mays and Jason Isaacs.
Yeah, Jason Isaacs, absolutely.
I think it's quite ambitious, but I think the twist maybe feels slightly thwarted almost, like it maybe didn't have enough bite to it almost.
I wasn't expecting her to go off with him at the end.
No,
That felt
after
to me, honestly,
bit,
it felt as out there as like, in the first scary movie where the reporter sort of goes off into the sunset with Officer Doofy. It felt like that. And that was obviously a joke in Scary Movie. And maybe it was a joke in this as well, but I don't know. It didn't feel the same. It didn't quite match that vibe. So it just sort of fell a bit flat for me.
where would you go on this?
Like, I don't think it was a bad episode at all. Like, I just think it was probably a C.
I'd go see it as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Random act of kindness. Quite an ambitious one, this, I think, in terms of how much it tried to get into a 30-minute episode structure.
Yes. And for that exact reason is why I've placed it in F. I like the message about appreciating your mum. I think that's a good message to have. I think it was just too ambitious in what it was trying to do. And I think the story overall fell pretty, like the whole time travel thing. I don't know, it just felt kind of flat for me. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of it. I don't think the twist worked very well. I think they tried to pack too much into 30 minutes.
Mm. I wouldn't go F at all on this. I
Because
was actually. No, sorry.
didn't Reece Shearsmith also have like a part where he was like some sort of rival time traveler man, and it even sort of they ended up having to sort of fight for their own survival or something
Yeah.
towards the end. I'd have just taken it out completely and just had to be purely be focused on him, Pemberton, and the mom.
Yeah.
Just keep it as the family drama. I think Reece Shearsmith coming into play and trying to sort of complicating things by trying to sort of stop everything or rewrite time or whatever the hell it was he was trying to do, I think was just a curveball that was completely unnecessary.
Hmm. I was gonna go. Is it Beals? I'd go C on this. I think it's quite cathartic. I think the actual conversation I think Pemberton has with his younger self, I think are really well written.
Mm.
Um, yeah, that idea of trying to, because when you said, "Oh, Shearsmith was this rival time traveler," I had almost completely forgotten that. Uh, so yeah, I said C. You said F. It would put it in D.
Yeah,
And
I think I'm happy with D.
Series 7 not getting a lot of love, is it?
No,
Why is
no.
out? Okay, this is where I think we're gonna have a strong disagreement.
I,
Because
I by no means thought this was like a bad episode at all. I just don't think it was as amazing as you think it is.
no, I think this is one of the best number 9 episodes, in my opinion. I think it's one of the most emotionally charged episodes where I think the animation is superb, firstly. I think it's really one of the most profound explorations of childhood trauma I've probably ever seen.
I have you seen the film um Possum?
Oh, I haven't seen Possum. Yeah, yeah, I know what it is.
Right. So I've seen the film Possum and Wise Owl, the underlying plot besides the sort of creepy owl animation is
Yeah.
basically the exact same kind of plot as Possum in terms
Mm,
of like the twists and
yeah.
turns and stuff about his uncle or his dad or I can't remember whoever it was. So yeah, it didn't feel I guess as fresh and new and unique to me as it might have been for you then, as you haven't seen Possum. Because I quite like the film Possum.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I still think it was very, very good.
Where would you pop it
I'd
on
put it
this?
in A. I'd put it in A.
I'd put it in S. Oh,
S.
yeah. I think I'd put it in S because I think it's one of the best emotion episodes. I think
Yeah.
it's quite it's quite emotionally charged. I think the ending where you see the young character of Shearsmith walking out into his older self, I thought that was stunning.
Mm.
I thought the
I
performance
think
by the father was really good as well.
I'd be willing to compromise and give you an S. But
Really?
yeah. I'll give it you.
Well,
Go on.
you sure?
Yeah, yeah. Take it. Take it.
I'll take a low S then. I think I'm happy with that. I'll put it
Yeah.
at yeah. Onto Series 8. Onto The Bones of St. Nicholas. An episode I think you're quite a big fan of.
I I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan, but I
Yeah.
really enjoyed the Bones of Saint Nicholas. I thought the foreshadowing in it was
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. I think, um, the way, because obviously, a character sort of midway through mentioned that they had visions of the future, and then Pemberton's character seeing someone skulking around in a red cloak,
Yeah.
a shoe on the floor, and certain noises, and I think are all just sort of perfectly built up to the twist ending where he ended up hanging himself unintentionally
Yeah.
in the church. I just think it was a really well written episode, and I think it being quite eerie as well, being set in the church, and the statue of Saint Nicholas being quite creepy as well,
Mm.
um, just made it quite suspenseful. And yeah, it was a bit of a nervous ride.
Yeah. It's quite atmospheric, I thought. I think a lot
Yeah.
I would probably say this is a better episode than Devil of Christmas.
Yes.
The foreshadowing you mentioned was really good. I almost liked how the foreshadowing was almost like a warning for something, and the irony of what happened at the end was quite good. I thought it was quite atmospherically well done as well. I thought the tension it
Mm.
was quite good. Maybe should have rewatched it to get more of the finer nuances, but I would put this at a solid B still.
B, definitely above Devil at Christmas.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
High B.
B, big Mother's Ruin. Hmm.
F. I wasn't a fan of this one. The
Do you know
plot
what?
itself I thought was completely ridiculous.
I'm gonna agree. I think because in the same way as what I think it felt almost like a pantomime that didn't know what it wanted to do with itself. They were trying to
Yeah,
obviously conjure up the spirits of their
I
dead mother, so I don't even fully
yeah,
understand
they
the
broke
plot.
into I don't know. They broke into like some London gangster's flat to do necromancy to bring back their dead mom so they could ask her about where she hid some money. And then for some strange reason, when the gangsters come back to their flat, they believe them and just try and go along with it, but then obviously like cut his foot off in the process. I don't know. I don't think it was very well done at all. I don't know what they were trying to go for, but it didn't really work.
I'm happy with F for this.
Yeah.
Uh, and now an episode where trying to pronounce the name. Para
Yes.
Paraskevidecatrypophobia. I'm just calling it paraphobia. We
Yeah.
know the episode.
Paras Kevadecatria. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, we're gonna have differing opinions on this, and I feel like I'm not gonna win this one. I love this episode. Wholeheartedly, I think it's the pinnacle of what number nine is of the darkly comical blends. I think this whole sort of pantomiming theme that you're watching this guy's day get worse by the second, and
Mm.
then it resounds to this twist that I think is absolutely incredible of that something terrible happened on the 13th, and it was almost like this manifestation of trauma, but obviously in a very different way. I thought the whole performers, because obviously it was a big therapy sketch almost, of what they were getting him to do was excellent. I thought the final 30 seconds of the woman getting smacked by the car, chef's kiss. Uh,
Mm.
I wholeheartedly love this episode. How about yourself?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great episode. I thought it was very funny
Yeah.
from start to finish. I think the twist was good. Yeah, I think it was great. Very well written. I just don't think it wowed me as much as it might have
Okay, I see
wowed
what you
you.
mean. Yeah.
Like for me, it's a solid A.
I'll compromise on an A. If you let me add Wise out, I'll let you have. I'm happy with A. Well, I look at the competition. I think it's in good company.
Mm.
So reluctantly, you win. Uh, Love is a stranger. What?
I think the twist with this one was really
Really
predictable.
predictable. I totally with you on that.
I think that's where my main problem with this episode comes from. Um,
I quite like the story behind it's quite fascinating of this Lonely Hearts drug killer, and it's just obviously you're seeing sort of the dating industry told through her interactions with people online. I quite like the dating website they created for the episode and this idea that you only get a set amount of time. I thought that
I
was
think I don't know though, because like it's not exactly very modern, is it?
no.
If you think about dating apps and stuff today, it's all very swipe, 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 swipe. But then again, she's in like her 40s or 50s or whatever. So she's using a site for a specific function, um, for it to do that. So I don't know. I just think, yeah, the twist being very predictable. And then similar to thinking out loud, I think the conversations that took up the bulk of the episode, I didn't find particularly interesting either.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't think it was a bad episode overall. I just think it was very, very average. I'd give it a C.
I agree on C. 100%. I think it does have its moments, but yeah. Now for the fake episode, the Hold On Tight, or AKA 3 by 3 with Lee Mack.
Oh, I didn't realize. Has it got two titles?
Hold On Tight was what it was marketed as, would you believe? It was a fake episode they recorded, and we can get on the bus segment in the finale because that's they did,
Oh, that they referenced in the finale.
yeah,
Yeah.
which you probably didn't realize to me.
No. Oh. Yeah, 3 by 3. I wasn't a big fan of it, to be honest with you.
See, I liked it, but I only liked the last 5 minutes with the head splatter.
I
Did you not even like
Yeah.
that?
I didn't even like the twist that she was like telekinetic or whatever.
Mm.
Telepathic. I think it just came completely out of nowhere.
I liked it.
I'd say it came more out of nowhere than the whole vampire thing in Stakeout.
I disagree on that because I think the sound design, I think the daughter's performance, I think foreshadows better. I think
Hmm.
personally.
Maybe this is one that I require a rewatch on then.
Um, I pers I do like Lee Mack as a quiz show host. I don't know if you watched the One Percent Club. He's a very good quiz show
I've seen
host.
clips. I've seen
Yeah,
clips.
he's really
Yeah.
good.
I
Um,
like Lee Mack. Would I lie to you? Absolutely brilliant. And not
is
going
it-
out, of course.
yeah, I've only seen a few episodes of that.
Mm.
I'd give this a C. Probably would.
Yeah, yeah. I see.
C sounds, yeah,
That
maybe
sounds about right.
an experiment that didn't work as well as Deadline for sure, but it was
Mm.
admirable if anything. Last weekend, another. Do you want to leave this as you made the point about revenge stories?
Yeah, I think like overall this episode is pretty solid.
Yeah.
My only sort of complaint is that by season 8, the whole secret revenge plot twist has been sort of done many, many, many times. And I think by now, for me personally, it's sort of gotten a bit tired. There's only so many times I can sort of watch one of them by the end of the episode, have them immobilized and ready to sort of kill or torture or whatever in some horrific way because of something that happened in the past. Um, I don't think the twist was foreshadowed at all that well in this one.
No.
The only mention of it was that he used to be in a boy band, and other than that, there was nothing. Especially not about like cyberbullying anyone. Um, Plus, in the beginning of the episode, uh, there were sort of glimpses of the 5 stages of grief. You could
Mm,
see sort of words like denial, and they were playing a game called bargaining. It very much looked like it was going to be an emotional roller coaster family drama type
mm,
episode,
yeah.
and then it just literally just completely changed gears in the final like 5 minutes.
Mm.
Um, for those reasons, yeah, I I wasn't a big fan of it, but by no means do I think it's a bad episode. It still, I think, worked well. I just think by season 8, bit tired.
I know
For
what you
me,
mean.
I'm putting it in C.
I would also put it in C. I think it didn't strike me as much as the other revenge stories. I think like for how dramatic the final 5 minutes were, I think it needed to allude to it a bit better because that,
Yeah.
like I said, um, did quite like parts of it, like the Blue Jeans baby dance was probably one of.
Hmm.
But there's so many dances in this show. Yeah, I'd go C. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a. I want to series 9, the last series. I'm quite. This is the one I've been most excited to get your thoughts on. Let's do Boo to a Goose first.
I honestly really quite liked Booster
I
Goose.
loved it as well. Yeah.
I think the twist was very creative. I was so grateful it wasn't some another revenge one.
Yes.
I think, the whole thing about the government or whatever organization it was trying to filter out the more rebellious types to just keep the people who would conform and obey was really interesting. Um, they sort of had this whole Lord of the Flies type division created between the two groups that began with the theft of somebody's purse. Um, I think all the performances were pretty great.
Mm.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed this episode as well. I think it's one of the best utilizations of all of the ensemble cast. I didn't think anyone was wasted at all.
No,
I think this whole idea, the government experiment. I'll be honest, when you saw the duplicates of the characters walk out, I
yeah, it
genuinely
was creepy.
my jaw hit the floor because initially I was like, "What the hell?" I think it's one of the most inventive twists they've ever done. I'd argue. I
I
think it's
I fully agree with that.
I think I quite fancy a second viewing of this, to be honest, because yeah, I think it would change a bit. I like this. I do love the idea. Let's swap out the people who would comply with a situation and search the bag versus the people who would say, let's not search the bag.
Mm,
Again, taking a very simple premise and just being very playful with it.
yeah.
Where would you put it on the tier list?
I'm sort of debating between A and B, and I'm sort of leaning towards A.
I was a strong A on this.
Yeah, give it an A.
The trolley problem.
Again, back to what I said before about revenge stories. By this point, I'm kind of tired of them. I think similar to The Last Goodbye, it's one of the weaker ones.
Interesting.
Um, I think the ending and the way it's all interwoven with the trolley problem itself, worked a lot better than The Last Goodbye though. So I
Yeah.
certainly think it's better than that one. Overall, I would still think it's one of the weaker revenge plot lines, but maybe that's just because I'm tired of them. Um, uh, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'd give it a. I'm sort of torn between B and C. I wouldn't
Interesting.
go higher than B, I don't think.
You want me to be honest on this episode?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I, for some reason, this was one of my favorite performed episodes that of number nine. I think it's the first time it's just been the two of them on screen. I was captivated as anything watching this. I thought I was so enraptured in the whole revenge story this time that the whole obviously it was the therapist who sleeping with the guy's daughter, and it was this whole case of
Mm.
it was a very intelligent psychological game of wit, I thought. And the ending, oh my God, again, it was so dark.
The ending was dark. The
Uh,
ending was dark.
I'm gonna
I
be
liked
honest.
the ending.
You said B or C. If you're gonna average it, it's probably gonna end up in a B. But
Yeah,
in my own personal, I think it's an A this episode. But I think it would probably average to a
give
B.
it B. Give it B.
Yeah, I know I'm not gonna win this, but Mulberry Close. I'll go first with this one, see if you agree. I love the format of this episode that told on the Ring doorbell.
Yeah.
I thought there was one of the funniest ever moments was where Steve Pemberton runs across the yard with a lantern in his hand to say, "I'm just fixing your guttering at like midnight."
Yeah.
I have to be honest though, I wasn't a fan of the ending, because I feel like it maybe went dark for the sake of being dark when I don't think it really needed to. I don't think it suited the style of the episode personally. I think I'm a bit mixed on this episode as a whole. I don't know about you.
I'm kind of mixed on it. I didn't mind the ending. I kind of liked the ending. I especially liked that it turned out it was the neighbors who killed the man's dog and
Mm,
wouldn't admit it. I think in the UK, I feel like the whole nosy neighbor thing is bigger in the US because you have like neighborhood associations and stuff like that over there. I don't know how big it like I have no idea who my neighbors are. I can't lie to you. Um
interesting, yeah.
the kind of thing that it sort of presented, I don't know how relatable it was. Maybe it's to some people, it certainly isn't to me. I think I definitely preferred it when the nosy neighbors were sort of suspecting him of having killed his wife.
Yeah, I much preferred that as well.
Um, and the ending kind of just sort of went comedic
Mm.
and a bit dark, like you say. I think I'd just give it a C. I think
Yeah,
I liked
exactly.
the idea of it just being shot from one angle,
Yeah, so
which was the ring doorbell cam, but overall, I think it was just kind of average.
uh, Control Alt Escape. I absolutely love this episode.
Yeah, it was great.
As the
I
whole
think it was brilliant.
realize, I think it's not necessarily one that's got a twist at all, because I think you can easily imply that it's a metaphorical fight with death that's done
Yes.
in this escape room that I think is orchestrated perfectly. You were on the edge of your seat watching Pemberton fight for his life.
Yeah.
Love Shearsmith as the organizer too. When it cut to the hospital room, it's all because you were. It's one of the few characters of Inside Number Nine you're actually rooting for a happy ending.
Yes.
I love this episode. I
And it was clever, smart, well done,
yeah,
emotional,
yeah, it's
gripping.
got good cast as well. Good cast. Good
Yeah.
cast. I could honestly argue it's an S.
I think I was a very solid A. I definitely
Interesting.
would not go lower than A.
Yeah.
Would I give it an S though? I don't know.
Mm.
Maybe.
I think it's
Maybe. Yeah, yeah, go on. Let's give it an S. Screw it. Give it an S.
The Curse of the Knife. We're gonna go first on this one.
Uh, yeah, I don't think it was a bad episode at all. I think it was a good one. Um, it didn't have a twist per se, other than the
Uh,
fact that the woman and lawyer were sort of secretly planning for him to try and steal the pages so that he would finish the piece because they were deep down scared of this curse.
yeah,
The story was good. I just don't think it just wowed me. I think that's
yeah.
my only,
Mm.
like some other episodes, I just don't think it had the wow factor
I'm,
that, oh
I'm
my God, that others have.
I'm with you 100% on this. Like, I quite like the episode, but it's
Yeah.
not really much wow factor at all. It just feels like it's good, and
Mm,
that's it's
yeah.
quite a good piece on the legacy, I suppose, of Shearsmith's character. It's quite karma bites you in the ass ending again.
Mm,
I could go B.
I think it's a solid B.
Yeah, I just remember watching it going. I think probably I was a bit more underwhelmed because it was like the penultimate episode, maybe. But yeah, we'll slide into B and we'll get on to the finale plodding on.
I think it was a solid finale, giving reference to all the other episodes, or at least as many as it could, and it
Yeah,
showed all the different, you know, actors and actresses that they've had over the
I couldn't
years.
believe how many they got back for that
Yeah.
party.
Um, and they sort of made it try to be emotional to do with Reese and
Mm.
Steve themselves.
Yeah,
Um, about them moving on from the series. What did they do next? Um, yeah, I think it was a really solid episode. I enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it as well. I loved the initially when he started, I was like, "What are we watching?" Then, but he obviously becomes very apparent. I loved the
Mm,
use of the guest stars, Tim Key. You had the one who played Gavin in Simon Says, who did the podcast.
mm,
Uh, it was a really good mediation on their friendship and sort of. I think it's the only way they could have ended it almost.
yeah,
Oddly, how to end an anthology? You just do your rap party and do it. The meta aspect works really well.
yeah. I'm in full agreement. I think it's great ending to it. I
I,
think if they just did it as some other one-off story,
yeah,
um,
wouldn't have
it wouldn't have
worked.
felt like conclusive like this episode did.
The montage was great. Uh,
Yeah,
I'd go A on this.
aye, absolutely.
All right. Should we very
And that's all of
quickly
them now. Woof.
rank them?
We
Yeah,
made
we've
it
done them.
through.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Should we quickly have a little ranking back?
I think first, do you want to maybe, you mentioned the idea of moving a couple down to F, that like I could pick one and you could pick one.
I like
Uh,
that.
if we're doing the ranking. So for
Uh,
me, I'm immediately moving the harrowing down to F.
what one would I move down to F of what's on that list?
I think it's good to start at the bottom and work our way up to the top as
100%.
well.
I don't want to. I'm not going to move anything. I could argue proms, but I'm gonna stick and say that's probably the worst of the D's. Let's do the F. So we got Harrowing, Wuthering Heist, and Mother's Ruin.
Do you think Mother's Ruin is the worst episode of Inside Number 9?
I could argue yes because I don't remember it.
I think I'd agree. I think this is in the F is in the perfect order. Mother's Ruin,
I'm
Wuthering
happy to
Heist, Harrowing.
I'm happy to leave F.
I think
the only ones I'd consider moving down to F would be like personally, Death Be Not Proud and Thinking Out Loud.
Ah, well, it's a snapshot.
Yeah,
We'll go on to D. So Death Be Not Proud. Let's drag it at the bottom. See how we feel about that.
I think it deserves to be at the bottom.
Is Death Be Not Proud better than? Man, I
I'd
definitely
argue
prefer.
Act of
Kind of
Kindness is
felt the
better
same.
than Proms.
100%. You think Death Be Not Proud's better than Proms?
Not for me, no.
You'd go Proms at the weakest.
Oh no, I'd say Death Be Not Proud is the weakest.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Stakeout over Kindness. I put Kindness above Stakeout. I
I'd
don't know about
agree, 100%.
Thinking Out Loud.
I'd put
Wow.
Kindness above Thinking Out Loud.
Well, Thinking Out Loud was higher on the list for me.
True.
I'd put Kindness over Thinking, yeah. And the winner is. I'd put it over winner is, yeah.
Yep.
Zanzibar. I mean, I might drag Zanzibar down to be honest. I'd probably put Zanzibar between Stakeout and Last Night at the Proms. Or would I put it here? Do you reckon? Or would I put it here?
I just said it. I'd say I would have thought Stakeout was worse than
Oh, I didn't think it was worse.
Zanzibar, but about there, yeah. I'd say,
I'll stick it there.
yeah, there.
Thinking out.
Before Stakeout and after Proms.
And the winner is Elizabeth Black.
Yeah, I like that order for
I
D.
put I put Kindness above Elizabeth. Probably because
Would
of
you?
how. Yeah.
I don't know. I think personally I like that order, but if you want to, it's only one slight
I'll
change.
compromise. I mean, I didn't really get it where I wanted anyway, so that's
True.
Mulberry over last weekend. I'll keep that as it is for now.
Yes.
3 by 3, I'd put above Love Is a Stranger. Would
I'd
you?
I'd put last weekend above 3 by 3.
Oh, interesting. I wouldn't. The also really ironic, we got 4, 5, and 6 of Series 8 in no particular order.
I
I
think Mulberry Close is probably definitely the last one for me, the weakest of the C tier.
uh oh, very close. Oh yeah, that's definitely the weakest. Last weekend, I'm happy with that. As long as we get sales time at top, I don't care. Love is a Stranger. Kidnap's definitely better than Love is a Stranger. Uh, Nine.
Yes.
You think Nine Lives Cat's a better? Well, I do definitely think it's a better episode.
Oh yeah, this was another one to compromise because I really didn't like Nine Lives Cat.
Yeah.
So for me personally, Nine Lives Cat would be like way at the bottom.
Mm.
But um, I don't
I
know.
think I think we should keep him mid because that's quite a
Yeah,
good
just keep it
reflection.
mid. Yeah,
Kidnap, Kidnap, Mr. King.
I'd say Mr. King. Yeah, above Hurry Up and Wait, Mr. King is.
I put Hurry Up and Wait like here even just before Love Is a Stranger.
Yeah. It wasn't
Love's
that
Great,
great. Hurry Up and Wait.
Love's Great Adventure. I put Mr. King above it.
I don't know because it was a solid episode. In fact, no, yeah, Mr. King above Love's Great. It was quite suspenseful in the beginning.
I put Referee. I'm gonna slide it after Series 7.
Yes,
Seems about
yeah,
right.
that's a good spot.
Empty Orchestra.
After Love is a Stranger and before Referee's a Wanker.
Uh,
Solid episode. Mr. King was more interesting though.
I'd
I-
I'd slap it here.
Yeah.
Seance Time.
I think personally I enjoyed Last Gasp more than Seance Time. Oh, I don't know actually. Nah, I think you're right. Switch Seance Time and Last Gasp.
Thank you very much. Let's go B. Curse of the Ninth. I think I might be willing to keep the last of the Bs.
Yes.
Trolley Problem. Would you put Bones above Trolley Problem, or would you switch them?
I
I,
personally think Bones of St. Nicholas was better than Trolley Problem.
I'd be willing to. Yeah, got 10 minutes left. Merrily, merrily. Happy with that. I put Lip Service above Simon Says.
Yeah, yeah.
Tempting Fate. I might move that down a bit. I might move it to like in between the Series 6 ones.
Yeah, like it was all right, but
I'd put
yeah.
Tavern to Hold maybe at between 6 and 7.
Yeah, it's not very rewatchable.
Private View, I might drag that down, to be honest.
I'm not a big fan of Private View, like I said, because of the ending.
I'm
I just
trying
said
to,
Trolley Problem was better than Private View. Private View's the weakest of B tier, I'd say.
I'll happily say that. Devil at Christmas, I'd put between Curse of Ninth Private View.
Yeah, most of the
Slap it.
episode isn't particularly interesting.
I'd slap it in the midst. Lip Service, Understudy, Sardines.
I'd say the understudy is better than Sardines.
Sardines, I'd probably put it like
Most of the
here.
episode isn't particularly interesting with Sardines because it's just sort of them talking about, the family.
Yeah,
I think
I'd keep
that's
it there.
probably a good spot for it,
I'm
yeah.
happy with that.
Yep.
I'm happy to keep Understudy there.
Yep. Top of the A tier, Private View, bottom of the B tier.
Top of the
Sorry.
A tier. Oh god, this is where it gets dicey now. This. I'd put Nana's Party at the bottom of the A tier, or I'd put Deadline.
Yeah, no Deadline. Put Deadline at the bottom.
You go Deadline,
And
Nana's
then
Party,
Nana's Pie, yeah.
and that leaves Plodding on Boots for Goose. I think I'd leave Plodding on there. It seems right.
Yeah, because it
Bo-
wasn't like a story-rich episode. It was just a sound conclusion about their
Boots
friendship.
Boots a Goose or Paraphobia.
I think I enjoyed Paraphobia more than Boots for Goose.
Yeah. How do you plead? I think I might slide that down, to be honest. I
Yeah.
might put it in between
Paraphobia.
Goose and Phobia. Once
Yeah.
removed, I'll keep there.
Once Removed was very fun. Yeah.
I might move. I think I'd put Once removed above dressing room. Would you?
Yes, absolutely.
Diddle diddle dumpling. Oh, it's where it gets tough now.
What's the one after Diddle Dumpling?
La Couchette. I'd go Once removed as the best of the A. Diddle diddle, then La Couchette.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's quite. I'm happy with that. And now
Yeah.
the S tier. Oh, Jesus Christ. You're definitely gonna tell me to leave it as it is, I reckon, for these two.
For which two? Was
The control Oscar.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Crikey.
Do you think Wise Owl should go higher?
It was in my top five. But I do love these episodes. I think the Bill I'd move down.
Oh, I love the bill. I think the bill. Maybe it'd be easier to work at the top end and then down.
Oh yeah, because I saw Quiet Night In. I'm happy to move a Quiet Night In down because I think we very much sort of compromised on that.
Yeah.
I'd whack it there. Would you put
Yes, I
Escape?
think that's a good place.
We got Tom and Jesus Christ.
I think the two best episodes is definitely between Cold Comfort and Christine.
I'm happy with that. So then it
They're
means
so good.
we've got these five to debate with.
I'd put Riddler of the Sphinx as number 3.
I would definitely agree on that. I'd put Misdirection at number 4.
I would agree. I agree.
You know what one I'd compromise having in the top 5? I'd accept Wise Out. I would give it Tom and Jerry the edge over the Bill.
Oh yeah, over the bill.
So
And
I think
then
that seems quite good. So Tom and Jerry or Misdirect. I'm happy with 5, 4, 3. Now it's the debate. Oh God, it's like picking your favorite child.
yeah, the bill or Wise Owl. I don't know. I personally really enjoyed the bill.
I'm happy to keep it at that. Because
Yeah.
you compromise them. I think because we've got it at number 7. I'm very happy with that.
These are all such top tier episodes.
Yeah. It's
They're
between
so good.
Cold Comfort and 12 Days of Christine.
I think the story of 12 Days Christine is perfect. But I think like Cold Comfort, just the security camera layout is so genius, and the story as well is very gripping, even if it's not all that. I don't know.
I've got a semantics argument here. I think Christine is the best episode they've done. I think Cold Comfort's the best number 9 episode, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Christine's really well written, emotional. but Cold Comfort is just it's very inside number 9. It's suspenseful, gripping, funny,
I'm gonna
dark.
say, as you're my guest, I'd be willing to accept Comfort as the best.
Or
I'm
yeah,
at,
okay.
it's dicey. I think
They're all so good. I mean, like the top 5,
I
the
mean
entire S row.
is amazing.
But 12 Days and Christine,
You know what's more
it's
ironic? We've got 9 S tiers.
do we? Oh my
Yeah,
God. Oh my God. We do.
I think I'd happily say like all of these would be on my top like 10 episodes, top 5.
Easily.
But yeah, Cold Comfort is the best episode. I think it is the ultimate conclusion. And
Yeah.
we're going to stop sharing there, and we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to say it's been a long one, full of technical difficulties. I say I really enjoyed doing that tier list. I think we should definitely do another one if we pick a topic that's like broad enough that we can maybe not 55 films worth.
Yeah.
But I say, Tom, thank you very much. It's been a
Yeah,
pleasure.
no problem. It's been fun. It's been
It's
fun.
been it's going to be an extra long episode. It's going to be fun to get all the files off now.
Yeah, good luck with editing all of this.
But I will say to everyone, take care, and I will see you all in the next episode, whenever that's going to be. And if you haven't seen number 9, what are you still doing?
Yeah,
Go and watch it. If we haven't said enough good things about it,
it
well, yeah,
deserves all the praise it gets. It's
deserves
absolutely brilliant.